Chapter 1002. Shenwu World. Of course, Long Yu doesn't know what's happening in the Northern Snow Empire, but he does know that the Northern Snow Empire isn't in a good situation right now. And so, he used the balance control secret art to search for the crescent-shaped doors in the various worlds as fast as he could. Finally, after 3 days, he went through all 12 of them. After passing through 12 crescent-shaped arched doors, Long Yu finally arrived at the core region of the 9 serene moon. Furthermore, he also learned that there was a Grade 2 divine array, the 12-star prison, set up in the palace on the 2nd floor of the 9 serene moon. This god formation could be said to be the most powerful god formation that Long Yu has ever seen. Within this 12-star prison, any cultivator's martial skills, thaumaturgy, or the power of divine runes couldn't be used at all. They had to search through all 12-star prison in order to find the crescent-shaped doors and escape. Furthermore, Long Yu found out that the positions of the crescent-shaped doors in the 12-star prison would change after a very short period of time. In other words, if he didn't have the balance control secret art, he wouldn't have been able to escape after being trapped inside for who knows how long. This was a terrifying god formation used to trap others. The rank of a rank 2 god formation was enough to show how powerful it was. But Long Yu knew that this 12-star prison that he went through was only a modified version of the Jiuyou Dragon Emperor's own convenience. In other words, the Jiuyou Dragon Emperor could easily pass through this rank 2 god formation after borrowing his body, but it wouldn't be so easy for anyone else. If this was the complete 12-star prison, Long Yu would have been trapped inside for countless years. At that time, the entire Shenwu world would have been drowned in a sea of death aura. Regardless, I'm finally out, and I even obtained the cultivation method for the 12-star prison. Long Yu was thinking that as long as he went back and cultivated in seclusion for a period of time, he would be able to learn the Grade 3 God Array, Scarlet Blood, as well as the Grade 2 God Array, 12-star prison. It would be of great benefit to his battle prowess. But now, he was not in the mood to study the cultivation methods of these 2 divine formations because the most important thing was to suppress the power of the 9 Dark Moon and strive to end the Dark Moon cataclysm in advance. On the 3rd floor of the Palace of the Dark Moon, which was also the last floor, the scene was very simple. This was a very ordinary blood-red palace. In the center of the palace, there was a blood-red radiance that continuously emitted bloody energy to the surroundings. It was this power that caused Shenwu World's countless ancient souls to awaken, as well as causing the entire Sea of Death to go berserk. Near the blood-red radiance, there was a stone table with a small bottle of pills on top of it. Obviously, this was another cultivation resource that Jiuyou Dragon Emperor prepared for himself, but now it was Long Yu's turn to take advantage of it. Outside of the 9 Dark Moon, the bloody energy greatly affected cultivators. But now that Long Yu had arrived at the source of the bloody energy, he didn't feel too much pressure. However, there was nothing he could do to suppress the blood-red radiance for now. Infinite imprisonment. Long Yu first unleashed the infinite imprisonment technique, summoning one dark star after another to completely imprison the blood-red radiance. However, this technique was still too weak. In just a split second, the blood-red radiance exploded and shattered the infinite imprisonment technique. Infinite imprisonment ineffective. 8 trigrams heaven suppression. 9 nether true spirit origin deterrence. Long Yu tried many methods in succession, but he discovered that none of the methods he had used were able to affect the blood-red light. It wasn't that the effect was weak, but that it was completely ineffective. Luckily, after this period of studying, I've already grasped 18% of the Mark of 9 Nether. I'll try to use the Mark of 9 Nether. Maybe I can suppress it. Long Yu frowned. He really couldn't do anything about this blood-red radiance. He could only try to use the Mark of 9 Nether to sense its presence and see if there would be any reaction. He thought to himself, if it was Jiuyou Dragon Emperor who borrowed his body to come here, he probably wouldn't need to suppress this blood-red radiance. After all, this is his own innate thaumaturgy. He might still be able to use it in the future, right? Use it. I have the mark of 9 nether on me. In other words, in the perception of the 9 dark moon, I'm actually Geo-Dragon Emperor. If that's the case, I should be able to completely control the 9 dark moon and even make it a part of me. However, I can't affect it at all now. It must be because I don't have enough control over the mark of 9 nether. Long Yu thought of this very quickly. If he could completely control the mark of 9 nether, he would be equivalent to the reincarnation of Geo-Dragon Emperor, and everything in the world of 9 nether would be under his control. But now, he couldn't affect the 9 dark moon, which showed that his level of control over the mark of 9 nether was still too low. However, how could it be easy to master a deeper level of the mark of 9 nether? Unless he encountered the pitch-black whirlpool in the void, he would be able to quickly improve Long Yu's level of control over the mark of 9 nether. Otherwise, he would have to rely on time. Under normal circumstances, he would only be able to master 1 or 2% of the mark of 9 nether in half a year. Moreover, Long Yu had no idea how much he had to master the mark of 9 nether to be able to barely control the 9 dark moon. Difficult, too difficult. Long Yu pondered for a moment, but he didn't immediately start comprehending the mark of 9 nether. Instead, he picked up the pill bottle on the central stone table and checked it. There were indeed 5 endless-grade pills inside. I might be able to quickly step into the late-stage Martial Emperor realm after consuming these pills, but they won't be of much use in suppressing the 9 dark moon. Previously, I comprehended the power of creation in the depths of the 9 nether palace and was possessed by the remnant consciousness of Geo-Dragon Emperor. In the divine martial realm core, I obtained 3 pitch-black stones and 5 endless-grade pills. If the Geo-Dragon Emperor hid something of equal value in each of the 7 great forbidden areas, then isn't it a little too shabby to only have 5 pills in the 9 dark moon? Thinking of this, Long Yu started to look around. If he could find other things left behind by the Dragon Emperor of the 9 Abyss, the whole situation might turn around. Of course, when he looked around, he didn't find anything suspicious. The entire 3rd level of the 9 Darkness Moon seemed to have only one small hall, which nurtured the core of the 9 Darkness Moon, which was the blood-red ball of light, as well as the 5 endless-level medicinal pills. Apart from that, the simple hall was very small. There was only a blood-red painting carved on the walls. There were no living creatures in the painting, only swords, spears, and other weapons. All of them were blood-red in color, looking extremely bloody and terrifying. The only thing that might be suspicious is this painting. But this is just a simple mural. What secret could be hidden in it? Could it be that I can find other hidden compartments through this mural? Long Yu began to lean against the wall of the hall and carefully search. Just as Long Yu entered the last layer of the 9 dark moon, Azura City in the northern Snow Empire had already received bad news. The Sea of Death aura was spreading towards Azura City under the leadership of several ancient giant beasts. Moreover, before this, Xing Fa and Dao Jingtian, who had been guarding the Red Emperor City until the last moment, had suddenly lost contact. At the same time, the Red Emperor City was submerged by the Sea of Death aura a day later. This situation made the faces of many people in Azura City sink. Could it be that Xing Fa and Dao Jingtian had risked their lives to fight against the ancient giant beasts that covered the sky, sacrificing themselves to buy time for everyone? But this guess wasn't realistic. First of all, Xing Fa and Dao Jingtian were very clear that the Sea of Death aura was unstoppable. Even if they retreated to Azura City, they couldn't charge into the Sea of Death aura and throw away their lives. Secondly, although Xing Fa and Dao Jingtian had broken through to the 3-star Emperor realm, it was impossible for them to kill the sovereign secret realm giant beasts in the Sea of Death aura. In that case, where did Xing Fa and Dao Jingtian go? And who delayed the Sea of Death aura for a day? These 2 questions had recently become the biggest problem that troubled Yu Hanxin, Shu Chan, and the others. But soon, the biggest problem came. The Sea of Death aura had already submerged the Red Emperor City. Next was Azura City, which was relatively close to the Red Emperor City. At this moment, most of the martial cultivators and families in Azura City had already moved to the depths of the Northern Snow Empire. Many people had directly teleported to the Holy City of the Five Emperors. After all, the Holy City of the Five Emperors was the most secure place. As long as there were enough spatial attribute exotic beast crystals, they could teleport people to the Holy City of the Five Emperors. Only the Holy City of the Five Emperors was the safest place. There were not many people left in the entire Azura City. Now, only a series of people with status and strength in the Northern Snow Empire, such as Yu Hanxin, Shu Chan, and Shi Yengu, had gathered in Azura City. Even the City Lord of Heavenly Mandate City, Gu Yixin, had come. Because the Sea of Death aura was constantly approaching, if Azura City could not be defended, the entire Northern Snow Empire might not be spared in the end. Then, all their efforts during this time would be in vain. It just so happened that Shu Chan said that she might have a way to temporarily stop the spread of the Sea of Death aura. She invited Shi Yengu to come and help. The others also followed, wanting to observe the main battlefield. Not long ago, Dugu Yijian finally returned. He did not return alone, but he brought back an ancient hall of the Netherworld. Shu Chan's words made Shi Yangwu's heart move. Chapter 1003. Jiyo Dragon Emperor's subordinates were the 9 Nether Envoys. When the 4 of them worked together, they could display very powerful strength. The 4 ancient palaces they possessed were actually a series of top-grade ancient weapons. If the 4 ancient palaces worked together, they could lay down a very powerful defensive formation. Even Jiyo Dragon Emperor at his peak couldn't break through it. It was clear how terrifying it was. This was something Shi Yengu had heard from the Death Envoy, and she had told Shu Chan about. Now that Shi Yengu had inherited Death Ancient Palace, Shu Chan had inherited Azura Ancient Palace, and Dugu Yijian had inherited Yellow Spring Ancient Palace. The 3 ancient palaces could form an incomplete defensive formation. Although the defensive ability wouldn't be as strong as the 4 ancient palaces combined, it should be somewhat effective in blocking the spread of the Sea of Death aura. In the sky above Azura City, the 3 ancient palaces revealed themselves. Because they had to combine their strength to form a defensive formation, there was no need to waste any energy to conceal themselves. In any case, no one could see them. Near the Sea of Death aura, all the martial cultivators, sects, and clans had fled. How could they dare to stay here for even half a step? Dugu Yijian, get ready. Let's kill our way out. Shu Chan's delicate body rose up and said to Dugu Yijian in the sky. Dugu Yijian nodded but didn't say anything. He had always listened to Shu Chan. Shi Yengu also flew up and brought the 2 of them and the 3 ancient palaces out of Azura City. Outside Azura City, there are too many awakened souls of Emperor Realm and Emperor Realm. Let's kill them all first. Azura Ancient Palace, Azura Thought Killing Formation. Shu Chan raised her hand and unleashed a technique. From the Azura Ancient Palace, a wave of Azura killing intent surged out and enveloped the awakened souls outside the city. Even the awakened souls of the Emperor Realm were in great pain under this technique. However, to eliminate the awakened souls of Emperor Realm awakened souls, Shu Chan alone wasn't enough. Underworld Soul Assimilation Array. Yellow Springs divine characters blossomed from the Yellow Springs Ancient Palace, and a sinister and terrifying aura suppressed the land outside Azura City, wiping out the countless souls of the dead. River of Death. Inside the Death Ancient Palace, the power of endless death divine characters surged out and formed a long river. Since Shi Yengu was the direct disciple of the Death Envoy, the power of this death river was many times stronger than the Shura Will Killing Formation and the Underworld Soul Devouring Formation. The river of death flowed out, and the power of the divine runes of death engulfed the countless awakened souls, causing them to dissipate completely. The souls of the giant beasts that had died once were even more fearful of the power of death. Even though the three of them hadn't been able to eliminate all of the souls, they had managed to scare away the remaining souls, causing them to retreat into the distance. The power of the divine runes of death was too much of a deterrent to these awakened souls. The moment Shi Yengu made her move, the river of death flowed out, clearing out a large area outside Azura City. Following that, the three of them flew out of the city with the three ancient palaces. At this time, the Sea of Death Chi was only 100 li away from Azura City. At this distance, there was a sovereign secret realm-level flying beast soul that blotted out the sun. It was like a mountain, and it was pressing down on Azura City, bringing with it a dense sea of death chi. Inside Azura City, everyone who was still standing became incomparably nervous. Could the three ancient palaces really stop the sea of death chi from spreading? Could they resist the pressure of the sovereign secret realm-level flying beast soul? If they couldn't, Azura City wouldn't be able to defend. One had to know that this city was built with the blood, sweat, and tears of countless people, and they had been defending it until now. If Azura City was destroyed now, many people wouldn't be able to accept it. It's starting. Outside the city, Shi Yengu, Shu Chan, and Dugu Ijian looked at each other and nodded. Then, they activated the three ancient palaces at the same time. The three ancient palaces rose into the sky, but in front of the flying beast soul that was 100 li away, they were like three small toys. 9 Nether Soaring Dragon Formation. In the next instant, Shi Yengu and the other two used the power of their respective divine runes, activating the core of the three ancient palaces. The three ancient palaces blossomed with resplendent radiance. The three ancient palaces interacted with each other. Countless shadows of pitch-black dragons appeared above the ancient palaces and flew out in all directions. As the shadows of the pitch-black dragons spread out, the entire sky was shrouded by the pitch-black hue of the 9 underworlds. These soaring dragon phantoms formed a barrier that continued to expand. They even reached the extent of covering the sky, protecting the entire Azura City. With the three ancient palaces as the core, more and more soaring dragon phantoms rose from the ancient palaces and merged into the defensive barrier, strengthening the defensive power of the barrier. In the past half a year, Shi Yengu and Shu Chan hadn't activated the ancient palaces, and Dugu Ijian had just obtained the Yellow Springs ancient palace. Therefore, the power of the three ancient palaces could be said to be almost full. Countless dragon phantoms flew high into the sky and fused with the defensive barrier, blocking in front of Azura City. Next, the moment that made everyone in Azura City nervous arrived. Outside the pitch-black 9 Nether Soaring Dragon Formation, a boundless sea of death chi rolled over. Among them, the ruler's secret realm-level flying beast soul quickly slammed into the 9 Nether Soaring Dragon Formation's barrier. Rumble! The earth trembled and the mountains shook. Many cracks appeared on the ground, causing the hearts of everyone in Azura City to tighten. However, with the reinforcement of the 9 underworld soaring dragons barrier, the flying soul and the endless sea of deathly aura were finally blocked outside the barrier. The entire 9 Nether Soaring Dragon Formation expanded to a radius of several 100,000 li, blocking the Sea of Death Chi in that direction. At least it can last for 3 days. If the situation doesn't improve after 3 days, we will have to retreat. Shi Yengu felt the strength of the 9 Nether Soaring Dragon Formation and said, "It's a pity that it's an incomplete defensive formation. If we had the last Hell Ancient Palace, I'm afraid we would be able to form an impenetrable defensive formation." Shu Chan said with a sigh. "I don't know where the Hell Ancient Palace is now. Maybe when Long Yu returns, he will be able to find it." Shi Yengu nodded her head and said. She also felt a little pity. The defensive formation formed by the three ancient palaces was, after all, incomplete. It was already beyond their expectations that it could resist the Sea of Death Chi for 3 days. Now, Shi Yengu was very clear that Long Yu should be in the 9 Dark Moon. However, She didn't know if Long Yu had encountered any danger. Could he stop the Sea of Death Qi from spreading? Only Shi Yengu knew about this matter because she was the person Long Yu trusted the most. On the other hand, it was useless for others to know about this matter. What Shi Yengu didn't know was that Long Yu was currently in a predicament in the last small palace on the third layer of the 9 dark moon. There's a mass of blood-red light, which is the core of the dark moon of the 9 serenities. There's a stone table with a medicinal pill bottle on top of it, which contains 5 endless-grade medicinal pills. The surrounding blood-red murals depict various blood-red weapons. Long Yu had searched the entire small palace and only found these 3 things. He had suspected that there might be a mechanism on the murals and that there might be a passage leading to another place. However, after a day of searching, he still couldn't find any mechanism on the murals. However, Long Yu was sure that there should be something strange on the murals because when he searched the entire murals, he felt a familiar aura seeping out. That aura felt very similar to the aura of the vortex that he had absorbed before. It contained the origin aura of the Jiuyou Dragon Emperor. However, Long Yu didn't know how to absorb that aura from the murals. I'll spend another day studying this murals. If there's still no result, I can only take the endless level elixirs and try to improve my martial arts realm, Long Yu thought to himself as he continued to study the blood-red murals. He already knew that there were many blood-red weapons on the murals. There were swords, spears, halberds, hammers, chains, and so on. These weapons seemed to be alive and made people feel as if they were some kind of life form. Long Yu subconsciously focused on these weapons and even tried to integrate the aura of the 9 nether mark into them. Unfortunately, no matter how he treated these weapons, the blood-red weapons didn't react at all. Since Long Yu could feel the origin aura of the Jiuyou Dragon Emperor, there must be some secrets in this murals. It was just that he hadn't discovered them yet. Long Yu raised his head and looked around. The entire small palace was cylindrical, and the walls of the palace were all engraved with such murals. Long Yu studied many of the blood-red weapons on the murals, trying to find something. However, he didn't find anything in the end. Finally, when he looked around, an idea came to his mind. Since there was something wrong with this murals, why didn't he observe the murals as a whole first? Why did he have to observe the blood-red weapons on the murals? This idea changed Long Yu's thinking. He stood in the middle of the entire small palace and began to observe the murals. He connected the walls of the palace together in his imagination. Originally, the murals were engraved on the ceiling, floor, and walls of the palace. However, in Long Yu's imagination, the murals were laid flat and formed a long scroll. As Long Yu imagined it, he realized that the blood-red weapons on the murals were arranged according to a certain rule. Chapter 1004. When Long Yu saw this, the blood-red murals in the hall suddenly changed. They fell off the walls, the floor, and the ceiling, forming a long scroll that rolled up and fell into Long Yu's hand. Long Yu looked around again and realized that there were no longer any blood-red patterns on the walls of the entire palace. All that was left was a blood-red color, with no images on them at all. Got it! Long Yu clenched the scroll in his hand. Although he didn't know what it was, he was sure that it was something the Jiuyou Dragon Emperor had left behind for him. Through the 9 serenities mark, Long Yu could sense a familiar aura from the scroll, and a voice rang out in his mind. Dragon Blood Sacred Painting. An unbounded fighter. Long Yu was shocked. He didn't expect the scroll to be an unbounded fighter. The Death Emissary had once said that the Jiuyou Dragon Emperor only knew one unbounded martial skill, but he didn't say how many unbounded fighters he had. Now it seemed that the Jiuyou Dragon Emperor had quite a number of unbounded fighters. If the ancient Dragon Bone Tower was fully restored, it would be a top-grade unbounded fighter. And this blood-red scroll called the Dragon Blood Sacred Painting was also an unbounded fighter. Although it was only a high-grade unbounded fighter, there was no doubting its power. Although it couldn't compare to a god-grade absolute beginning fighter, A God-grade absolute beginning fighter was far more difficult to obtain than an unbounded fighter. After all, an unbounded fighter was the strongest existence. Moreover, it seemed that it was very difficult to awaken a God-grade absolute beginning fighter. If one could fuse with an unbounded fighter to a higher level, its power would definitely surpass that of a low-level absolute beginning fighter. In any case, obtaining an unbounded fighter like the Dragon Blood Sacred Painting was a pleasant surprise for Long Yu. In particular, he discovered that the battle weapon actually contained quite a bit of the Jiyo Dragon Emperor's origin aura, which could solve the problem he was currently facing. The origin aura of the Jiyo Dragon Emperor can allow me to absorb it quickly and control more of the 9 nether seals. I just don't know how much of the Jiyo Dragon Emperor's origin aura is in the Dragon Blood Sacred Diagram. As Long Yu thought to himself, he immediately sat down cross-legged and closed his eyes to absorb the Jiyo Dragon Emperor's origin aura from the Dragon Blood Sacred Diagram. Due to the existence of the 9 nether mark, the Dragon Blood Sacred Diagram had already treated Long Yu as the Jiyo Dragon Emperor, allowing Long Yu to absorb the Jiyo Dragon Emperor's aura. As the Jiyo Dragon Emperor's aura was absorbed by Long Yu within the Dragon Blood Sacred Diagram, his mastery of the 9 nether mark increased. Starting from 18%, it continued to rise. 19%, 20%, 25%. Finally, the Jiyo Dragon Emperor's origin aura within the Dragon Blood Sacred Diagram was completely absorbed by Long Yu, allowing his mastery of the 9 nether mark to reach 25%. Without a doubt, this was a huge improvement, saving Long Yu at least a few years of time. For his mastery of the 9 nether mark, this was definitely a huge leap forward. At this point, he had basically grasped a quarter of the 9 nether mark. Long Yu felt that he had a bit of control over the core of the 9 dark moon. Although it was still very difficult, if he put in a bit of effort, he would be able to barely control the 9 dark moon. What he needed to do now was to suppress the power of the 9 dark moon, or to make the 9 dark moon leave Shen Wu World's territory as quickly as possible. As long as the two sides were further apart, the 9 dark moon's aura wouldn't be able to affect Shen Wu World. Long Yu didn't waste any time and began to use the 9 nether mark to suppress the blood-red light at the center, which was the core of the 9 dark moon. As he did so, the blood-red light suddenly became a bit dimmer. Sure enough, he was able to suppress the power of the 9 dark moon after gaining 25% of the 9 dark moon's control. As soon as the blood-red light became a bit dimmer, the power radiating from the 9 dark moon became a bit weaker. This situation directly alleviated Shen Wu World's dangerous situation a bit. Around Shen Wu World, the spreading speed of the Sea of Death aura suddenly slowed down, while the awakening speed of the ancient souls in Shen Wu World also slowed down quite a bit. For example, in the holy city of the 5 emperors, there used to be over 100 ancient souls awakening every breath, but now, the number of souls awakening every breath had dropped to around 80 to 90. The Dark Moon Calamity had only started half a month ago, so it should have become even stronger and more terrifying. But now, thanks to Long Yu's efforts, it had become weaker. This discovery caused everyone in the holy city of the 5 emperors and the entire Shen Wu world to be overjoyed. Although this degree of weakening wasn't enough to determine anything, it gave everyone a glimmer of hope. Under the relentless attacks of the Lushan clan's rulers' secret realm combatants, the Sea of Death aura was actually being pushed back. This was undoubtedly a very encouraging sight. Even the ruler's secret realm combatants noticed that quite a few of the ruler's secret realm's giant behemoth souls had become a lot weaker. This made them a bit suspicious, so they all turned their gazes towards the sky, towards the 9 dark moon that was still emitting a blood-red light. These rulers' secret realm combatants didn't dare to approach the 9 dark moon. The stench of blood around there was enough to cause their minds to go berserk and eventually go insane. This wasn't the first time such a thing happened to the Lushan clan. The 9 dark moon had clearly become weaker. But even if the ruler's secret realm combatants felt this, they still didn't dare to do anything to the 9 Dark Moon. Northern Snow Empire, outside Azura City. The 9 Underworld's soaring dragon defensive formation had become even more sturdy, and as the 9 Dark Moon weakened, the Sea of Death Aura's attacks weren't as strong as before, allowing the defensive formation to last for another day. It seems like Brother Dragon has made some progress. Keep it up, Brother Dragon. Shi Yengu prayed in her heart. At the same time, she kept urging the power of the divine characters of death to strengthen the 9 Underworld's soaring dragon defensive formation so that it could last longer. Inside the 9 Dark Moon, Long Yu tried his best, and very soon, the blood-red light dimmed a bit, causing the power of the 9 Dark Moon to weaken once more. As such, he was a little worried. If the blood-red light was completely extinguished, wouldn't the power of the 9 Dark Moon disappear without a trace? No, the core of the 9 Dark Moon can't be weakened indefinitely. Long Yu knew that the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor's 7 divine abilities formed the 7 forbidden areas of the 9 Underworld's realm. At the same time, they were also the 7 pillars of the 9 Underworld's realm, maintaining the balance of the entire 9 Underworld's realm. If the power of the 9 Dark Moon was suddenly forcefully suppressed, would there be any unexpected changes? This was a question that Long Yu couldn't help but consider. If the balance of the 7 pillars, or in other words, the 7 forbidden areas were destroyed because of this, it would cause the order of the entire 9 Underworld's realm to become chaotic. That wouldn't be worth it, because the consequences would be even worse than the Sea of Death Aura spreading. I forgot about that before, but it seems like there shouldn't be any problems now. I've only suppressed 2% of the power of the 9 Dark Moon's core, so it shouldn't affect it too much. But with such a small amount of suppression, if it were to be transmitted to Shen Wu World from such a far distance, the effects would be even greater. Long Yu thought about it for a bit. If that's the case, then he'll suppress the power of the 9 Dark Moon by 5%. This amount of suppression should be enough to make Shen Wu World's situation a lot better. After all, the distance between the 9 Dark Moon and Shen Wu World is quite far. Suppressing 5% of the power would mean that the power transmitted to Shen Wu World would be reduced to at least 1/5 of its original power. That way, Shen Wu World's situation would be a lot better, and Long Yu would be able to try to move the 9 Dark Moon away from this place as soon as possible. Now that he has 25% of the 9 Underworld's mark under his control, he should be able to do that. While suppressing the power of the 9 Dark Moon, Long Yu also took the time to study the unending grade weapon, the Dragon Blood Sacred Painting. This was a weapon that combined both offense and defense. From the Dragon Blood Sacred Painting, it could manifest various blood-colored weapons, blades, spears, swords, halberds, shields, and so on. And because it was an unending grade weapon, it was possible to increase its power. Unending grade weapons, pills, and martial techniques were all unique in that they could explode with unlimited power. If one was lucky, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that they could explode with 10 times their power. That way, even opponents stronger than the user would be able to kill them. This was the power of an unending grade weapon. It didn't just depend on luck, but also on the compatibility between the user and the weapon. Without a doubt, the higher the compatibility between the user and the unending grade weapon, the more power they could explode with when using the weapon. Long Yu had already consumed quite a few endless grade medicinal pills. At most, he had obtained 6 times the spiritual energy of heaven and earth. Therefore, consuming 1 medicinal pill was equivalent to consuming 6. Both his martial arts realm and his world-cleansing body realm had improved significantly. But Long Yu had yet to see the full power of an unending grade weapon. He currently had 2 unending grade weapons on him. One of them was the Dragon Blood Sacred Painting, and the other was the Draconic Sacred Spring. It used to belong to a sworn enemy of the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor, who had seized it and sealed it. Now that the Draconic Sacred Spring was in Long Yu's hands, It had become one of his strongest trump cards. At the most critical moment, he could kill his opponents without them even knowing how they died. Now that he had the dragon blood sacred painting, Long Yu's combat prowess was bound to increase. The process of suppressing the 9 dark moons wasn't fast, and he didn't need to spend too much energy. All he had to do was continue suppressing them with the 9 serenities mark, which gave him the time to study the dragon blood sacred painting. Unfortunately, he couldn't test the power of the dragon blood sacred painting right now. After studying it for a while, he began to think about the 2 divine formations he had encountered before. Grade 3 divine formation, Scarlet Blood, and Grade 2 divine formation, 12-star prison. Chapter 1005. With Long Yu's continuous efforts, after 3 days, the core of the 9 dark moon was finally suppressed by 5% by Long Yu. This also caused the Shen Wu world's dark moon calamity to be weakened by 5 times. Originally, within the holy city of the 5 emperors, the ancient beast souls were reviving at a rate of 100 per breath. But now, the holy city of the 5 emperors could only revive at a rate of 20 per breath, and these 20 souls were a bit weaker than before. The Sea of Death aura had completely stopped spreading towards Shen Wu world. This was because there were no more ruler arcane realm souls reviving in the depths of the Sea of Death aura. Quite a few of the ancient beast souls that left the Sea of Death aura and stepped onto Shen Wu world had also begun to retreat. Because of this, everyone was pleasantly surprised. The alliance of 5 emperors, including the 5 emperors, all breathed out in relief. The Dark Moon calamity's strength could be said to have been weakened to its lowest point in history. It basically wouldn't pose much of a threat to Shen Wu world. In the Northern Snow Empire, inside Azura City, everyone was cheering. Finally, the 9 underworlds' soaring dragon formation managed to stop the Sea of Death aura from spreading, as well as the giant flying souls invasion. And at this moment, it was finally starting to return to where it came from. Shen Wu world's greatest crisis was resolved just like that. But in the entire Shen Wu world, besides Shi Yengu, no one else knew what exactly happened. Yu Hanxin also knew a bit about it, but she didn't know the specifics. She only knew that it might have something to do with Long Yu. On the other hand, the 20 ruler arcane realm cultivators that came from beyond the heavens to help felt a bit strange. They observed the 9 dark moon a few times, but couldn't find anything out of the ordinary. Although the 9 dark moon's power was weakened, it wasn't much, so they still didn't dare to go inside. In the 9 dark moon, Long Yu did not continue after weakening the core's power by 5%. Instead, he tried to move the 9 dark moon's position. The 9 dark moons were already moving at a rapid pace, and in half a month's time, they would no longer have any influence on Shen Wu world. But Long Yu wanted to speed this up a bit to avoid any unexpected changes. He activated the 9 Nether Mark and used the power of the 9 Nether Mark on the core of the entire 9 dark moon. Then, he kept sending out thoughts to make the 9 dark moons spin faster. Feeling the will of the 9 Serenities mark, the 9 Serenities dark moon's movement speed really became faster, flying in the opposite direction of Shen Wu world. Although it's only a bit faster, at this rate, the 9 dark moons will be able to escape Shen Wu world's influence in 7 days. During this process, Long Yu continued to comprehend the 2 divine formations. The first one he comprehended was a rank 2 divine formation, the 12-star prison. This was a type of imprisonment technique, especially useful when dealing with a large number of opponents. Long Yu's comprehension of the 12-star prison was quite fast. In the last 3 days, he had already comprehended a bit more than half of it, so he estimated that he would be able to fully comprehend it in about half a month's time. This is about the right amount of time. After the 9 dark moons crisis is resolved, it's about time for me to perform a divination on that Wu Long and see if he's the mastermind behind Ji Bai. Thinking that, Long Yu's eyes flashed with killing intent. No matter who it was, as long as they dared to make a move on Long Yu's friends, Long Yu would never forgive them. As long as he's strong enough, he will make them pay with their blood. Even during the previous assassination attempt, no one in Heavenly Mandate City suffered any casualties, but that was only because Long Yu was there. If Long Yu wasn't there, the consequences would be unimaginable. In 7 days, Long Yu sped up the 9 Dark Moon. Once the 9 Dark Moon was completely out of Shen Wu World's influence, Long Yu once again urged the 9 Dark Moon to slow down. Although he now had a certain level of control over the 7 Forbidden Zones, his understanding of the 9 Serenities mark was still very low. He didn't want to mess around and cause chaos in the entire 9 Serenities realm. Because of that, since he sped up the 9 Dark Moon to leave, he naturally had to slow it down to its original speed to avoid any accident. After another 7 days, Long Yu finally managed to slow down the 9 Dark Moon to its original speed. Everything returned to normal. At this point, the 9 Dark Moon could no longer be seen from Shen Wu World. Because it was too far away, and the 9 Dark Moon itself wasn't that big, it couldn't compare to the Death Star spiral at all. And at this point, Long Yu had finally finished comprehending the 2nd grade divine formation, the 12-star prison. The most compatible divine rune for this move was the elemental divine rune. Fortunately, Long Yu was currently compatible with all 8 elemental divine runes, and they had all reached the 5th level. That was why he could just barely display the 12-star prison. The higher the compatibility with the elemental divine script, the more powerful the 12-star prison will be. But even so, since it's a 2nd grade divine formation, it'll be extremely hard for anyone in Shen Wu World to break through. Long Yu finished his work with satisfaction. The 9 Dark Moon had returned to normal, and the Dark Moon calamity was probably over, so the entire Shen Wu World was probably in the process of rebuilding. There must still be a lot of souls of the revived behemoths in the entire Shen Wu World that need to be dealt with by the alliance of 5 emperors. The personal disciples of the 5 emperors should also be out. If I want to attack Wu Long, this is the best chance. Thinking that, Long Yu didn't immediately leave the 9 Dark Moon. Instead, he took out 2 endless pills from the palace on that floor and swallowed one of them first. It was an endless grade medicinal pill that had twice the medicinal strength of a normal pill. Combined with the boost from the Dubhe Star, it was a total of 4 times the strength. Long Yu's inner world began to expand. 210 million kilometers, 220 million kilometers, all the way to 270 million kilometers. The medicinal effects of the unending grade medicinal pill finally stopped. The things that the 9 Abyss Dragon Emperor left for me are really precious. Of course, Jiyo Dragon Emperor himself didn't know that these things would end up benefiting me in the end. Long Yu quickly swallowed the 2nd endless pill. This time, it gave him 3 times the original pill's medicinal power, causing Long Yu's inner world to once again experience a terrifying increase. 300 million miles. For any martial cultivator, expanding their inner world to 300 million miles was a threshold, because this represented that the martial cultivator had stepped into the late Emperor realm. The inner world's tempering of the martial cultivator's body, as well as the strengthening of the foundation of the martial cultivator, had reached another level. If everything else remained the same, a late Emperor realm martial cultivator's foundation and physique would be 3 times that of a mid-Emperor realm martial cultivator. Right now, Long Yu's foundation and physique had been strengthened by 3 times. His physical strength had increased by 3 times. Compared to ordinary martial cultivators that had their physical strength increased by 3 times, the meaning behind it was completely different. His physical strength had already far surpassed other martial cultivators. Now that it had increased by 3 times, the strength of his physical strength had left other martial cultivators in the dust. Not to mention the Shen Wu world that didn't have any high-level body-tempering martial skills. Even in the Beyond Heaven world, there were only a handful of martial cultivators that could reach this level of physique at Long Yu's level. As my martial realm has increased, my deduction abilities have also increased. Furthermore, I've gained a better understanding of the 9 underworlds mark, so deducing Wu Long shouldn't be a problem now. Satisfied, Long Yu left the 9 Dark Moon and began to teleport back to Shen Wu World. Before leaving, he took one last look at the 9 Serenity's Dark Moon to make sure there was nothing out of the ordinary about it. Then he took the Unbounded Warrior, the Dragon Blood Sage painting, and left. After teleporting a dozen times, Long Yu could no longer see the 9 Dark Moon. Instead, Shen Wu World appeared in front of him, and with each teleportation, Shen Wu World became bigger and bigger in his eyes. After teleporting 17 times, Long Yu finally charged headfirst into the surging and churning Sea of Death aura. At this very moment, because it had just gone through the Dark Moon calamity, the entire Sea of Death aura was still in a very active state. Inside the Sea of Death aura, there were still quite a few behemoth souls wandering around. These behemoth souls didn't have any consciousness, they could only instinctively devour heaven and earth spirit energy. But in the Sea of Death aura, where would there be any heaven and earth spirit energy for them to devour or sense? Because of that, these behemoth souls would most likely be wandering in the Sea of Death aura for all eternity, until they somehow managed to leave the Sea of Death aura and reach Shen Wu World, only to be found and killed by other cultivators. If the Jiyo Dragon Emperor had something prepared in the 7 Forbidden Zones, then what did he put in the Sea of Death aura? And if there really is something, where is it? Long Yu couldn't help but think. The entire Sea of Death aura was formed from the dense white aura of Death aura that surrounded the entire Shen Wu World. If there was something hidden inside, how would Long Yu be able to find it? Unless he could fully grasp the 9 Serenities mark. Long Yu shook his head and didn't think too much about it for now. He teleported again and returned to the heavily damaged Shen Wu World. After going through an intense Dark Moon calamity, as well as the invasion of the Sea of Death aura, Shen Wu World had suffered heavy losses. Countless cultivators, civilians, and beast cultivators lost their lives. And now, it was time for the alliance of 5 emperors to organize everyone to rebuild the world. Wu Long. Extrapolate. As soon as Long Yu returned to Shen Wu World, he turned into a white-haired old man and activated his extrapolation ability. Extrapolation target, Wu Long. Chapter 1006. The power of deduction continued to descend upon the body of Wu Long, who was currently searching for the resurrected giant beasts in Shen Wu World to slay. The current Long Yu didn't just increase his martial realm, his deduction ability had tripled. He also gained control over more than the 9 Serenities mark. From the endless void of the 9 Serenities realm, endless power was infused into Long Yu's deduction ability, causing Long Yu's deduction ability to increase by more than 10 times. It was precisely because of this confidence that Long Yu had the confidence to deduce Wu Long. After all, Wu Long was a powerful existence at the level of a 2-star imperial monarch. Even so, Long Yu found that the information he deduced about Wu Long was still very vague, so after thinking for a bit, he took out a pill and swallowed it. This pill was an arcane high-grade pill. Its effect was to increase the strength of one's deduction ability by 3 times. As the pill's effects spread, Long Yu was able to deduce some detailed information about Wu Long. For example, Wu Long was once together with Ji Bai and plotted something together with Ji Bai. Then, Ji Bai made contact with an assassination organization, and the members of that assassination organization were the black-clothed assassins. Just like that, Long Yu could confirm that this Wu Long was the mastermind behind Ji Bai's assassination. Ji Bai is dead, it's your turn now, Wu Long. Without any hesitation, Long Yu created a spatial teleportation channel and stepped into it. He had already transformed into a white-haired old man and instantly disappeared from where he stood. He then appeared where Wu Long was at this moment. Originally, Wu Long was leading a group of 9 emperors from the alliance of 5 emperors to kill the remaining great ancient beasts near the southern border of Shen Wu world to resurrect their souls. When Long Yu began to deduce Wu Long had already noticed and tried to resist the deduction ability. However, his deduction ability couldn't compare to Long Yu's, so some of his information was directly leaked to Long Yu. Long Yu spent almost half an hour trying to deduce Wu Long. After all, Wu Long wasn't Ji Bai, he was a 2-star emperor, so even if Long Yu became stronger, it wouldn't be easy to deduce him. During this period of time, Wu Long basically didn't make any moves and only tried to resist Long Yu's deduction, while the 9 emperors he led were protecting him. Because if a combatant was trying to deduce him, it meant that he was being watched. Wu Long naturally understood the importance of this, so he had to stop the other party's deduction no matter what. And when Wu Long found out that he couldn't stop the other party's deduction, he could only send this information to his Shifu, Lei Emperor, in the faraway holy city of the 5 emperors, hoping that Lei Emperor would immediately come and save him. Although Wu Long didn't know who was trying to deduce him, the fact that they were able to deduce his information meant that they weren't any weaker than him, so he had to ask Lei Emperor for help. But the problem was that Wu Long's current location was quite remote. The closest alliance of 5 emperors warp formation was at least 6 hours away. Lei Emperor would need at least another 6 hours to rush over. Even if they used some space teleportation weapons, they would need at least an hour, and this was already the fastest speed. Fortunately, it's impossible for that person to deduce me to come to my side in such a short period of time. When I meet up with Shifu, there shouldn't be any danger, Wu Long thought to himself. It wasn't strange that Wu Long was so cautious. With his martial arts realm, not to mention the fact that very few people dared to deduce him, even if they did, most of them ended up in vain. It was impossible for them to deduce any information about Wu Long. After all, Wu Long was a powerful 2-star emperor. But now, someone was directly deducing him, and even deducing a part of his information. This made Wu Long recall that not long ago, Ji Bai was instantly killed by an unknown killer in the holy city of the 5 emperors. At that time, Ji Bai seemed to have felt the power of deduction, and then a mysterious middle-aged man appeared and suddenly killed him. Could it be that the person who is deducing me now is the person who killed Ji Bai? Wu Long thought to himself, and a murderous intent flashed in his eyes. I'll be waiting for you to come. With the combined strength of Shifu and Lord Lei Emperor, you will definitely not be able to return. Wu Long thought that he was prepared, but he didn't know that if Long Yu wanted to rush to his side, it would only take an instant. Just a breath's time after Wu Long notified Lei Emperor, the figure of a white-haired old man quietly appeared not far away from Wu Long and the others. This scene gave Wu Long and the others a shock. Who are you? Originally, Wu Long and the others had already set up camp at their original spot, waiting for Lei Emperor's arrival. They didn't expect such a strange old man to suddenly appear beside them, without any warning, without a sound, and his target seemed to be Wu Long and the others. The person who will kill you. An old voice rang out, the old man's eyes filled with murderous intent. This old man was naturally Long Yu. Unfortunately, he had used the Book of Shadows to disguise himself, and Wu Long and the others had no way of discovering his true identity. You're in the way. Long Yu looked at the 9 other Emperor Realm powerhouses of the alliance of 5 emperors beside Wu Long and frowned slightly. He raised his hand, and the 12-star prison that he had just successfully cultivated was activated. 12 crescent-shaped arched doors instantly descended. The terrifying power of the second-grade divine formation instantly sucked the 9 Emperor Realm powerhouses into it, completely trapping them within the 12-star prison. The 12-star prison was a sealing divine formation. The cultivators sealed within would not be in any danger, but they would be trapped for a period of time, unable to do anything. With that, only Wu Long was left, the others were trapped within the 12-star prison. Fight to your heart's content. The corners of Long Yu's lips curled up slightly. The dragon blood sacred diagram in his hand surged out like a raging river, surrounding Wu Long in the middle. And here I was wondering who it was, but it's just a late-stage emperor, old man. When Wu Long had a clear look at Long Yu's cultivation realm, the nervousness in his heart was slightly relieved. Although the old man looked terrifying, and the scroll painting in his hand seemed to be very powerful, as long as the old man's cultivation realm was only at the late emperor realm, Wu Long would be able to hold him off for a while. As long as the lay emperor arrived and joined forces with him, this old man would be no match for them. Lightning monarch, all things scatter. Wu Long clenched his fist, and a burst of purple lightning exploded from his hand. In an instant, millions upon millions of purple lightning bolts shot out, each one strong enough to kill a late-stage emperor expert. He could tell that the blood-red painting scroll that flew out from Long Yu's hand was an extremely powerful battle weapon. Therefore, he wanted to force it back or even defeat it first. Lightning Monarch, all things scatter was a terrifying technique that Wu Long had combined two emperor-based mystiques he had comprehended to create. The might of an attack executed by a second-star Imperial Monarch realm expert, Wu Long, by combining two Imperial Dao divine abilities would surely be capable of obliterating the heavens and the earth. If it were to blast onto a lofty and enormous mountain, then it would be capable of completely shattering a mountain that was over 10 kilometers tall. In Wu Long's opinion, such a technique was enough to defeat the painting in Long Yu's hand. However, he didn't know that the dragon blood sacred diagram was an unbounded weapon. An unbounded weapon contained boundless power. Once it was unleashed, not to mention a 2-star emperor like Wu Long, even a 7-star emperor might not be able to withstand it. Of course, it was impossible for the current Long Yu to unleash such power from an unbounded weapon. However, it was impossible for Wu Long to defeat the Dragon Blood sacred diagram with a single move. Dragon Blood. Divine Shield Diagram. Long Yu floated in the air, his eyes flashing with blood-red light. At this moment, he seemed to have sensed a trace of the Dragon Blood sacred diagrams that had long passed away. A blood-red shield diagram appeared, forming a blood-red dome of heaven that enveloped Wu Long. The Dragon Blood Divine Shield diagram covered the entire area, completely covering the millions of purple lightning bolts that Wu Long had unleashed. Endless explosions rang out. The blood-red Dragon Blood Divine Shield diagram gradually crumbled under the bombardment of the endless purple lightning bolt. Sure enough, it had been destroyed by Wu Long. However, Wu Long's dual emperor-based mystiques had been directly broken by Long Yu. It had failed to threaten the Dragon Blood sacred diagram at all. What kind of battle weapon is that? A look of shock crossed Wu Long's face. He had never seen such a powerful defensive technique, not to mention that it was unleashed by a late-stage martial emperor. It wasn't as if Wu Long had never seen an Archean battle weapon before. If it was a late-stage martial emperor cultivator wielding an Archean battle weapon, Wu Long's dual emperor-based mystiques and the millions of purple lightning bolts might not be able to destroy the battle weapon, but he would definitely be able to completely suppress it. But now, it was this blood-red diagram that had completely suppressed Wu Long's power. It was the complete opposite of the situation before. Lay Emperor's cloak. Wu Long was only stunned for a moment before he immediately reacted. A purple cloak instantly appeared on his back, and a purple electric light appeared. It condensed into an infinitely small electric light, and directly shot towards the Dragon Blood Saint diagram. This purple lightning bolt was incredibly thin and long, to the point that it was impossible to see or detect with the naked eye. Only by probing with the divine sense could one vaguely sense its existence, and its speed was second to none. This was the effect of the Lay Emperor's cloak. It could condense an extremely thin lightning bolt that was enough to penetrate most of the defensive barriers of Shen Wu World, or even destroy most of the battle weapons that appeared in Shen Wu World. Because this lightning bolt was extremely thin, its penetrative power was also extremely high. Compared to the defense of the Red Emperor's cloak, the Lei Emperor's cloak's offensive power was much stronger. Chapter 1007. Wu Long had a lot of confidence in the Lei Emperor's cloak's sudden attack. In the past, the Lei Emperor's cloak had never failed an attack. Now, he felt that it should be able to end the battle with a single strike. At the very least, it should be able to leave a big hole in the blood-red painting battle weapon, right? Alas, the reality of the situation disappointed him. That extremely tiny bolt of lightning with infinite penetrative power bombarded the Dragon Blood Sacred Diagram. Its power was actually absorbed by the Dragon Blood Sacred Diagram, and the impact was dispersed across the entire painting. As a result, the Dragon Blood Sacred Diagram was unscathed. One must know that the extremely tiny bolt of lightning on the Lei Emperor's cloak originally relied on concentrating all its power on a single point to obtain the strongest penetrative and destructive power. But now, the Dragon Blood Sacred Diagram was actually able to disperse any incoming attack across the entire painting. In other words, the Dragon Blood Sacred Diagram was least afraid of this kind of single-point penetrative attack. The overall strength of the Lei Emperor's cloak wasn't strong. At least, compared to the Dragon Blood Sacred Diagram, the gap was too big. With its power dispersed, it couldn't cause any damage to the Dragon Blood Sacred Diagram at all. Long Yu was pleasantly surprised by this discovery. This meant that the Dragon Blood Sacred Diagram was definitely a battle weapon with very strong defensive capabilities. Moreover, it was an unbounded battle weapon. Combined with the Dragon Blood Heavenly Shield on the Dragon Blood Sacred Diagram, its defensive capabilities could be said to be insane. Even the 7-star Emperor might not be able to destroy it. Unless the opponent was in existence in the Sovereign's secret realm, there was no way they could break through the defense of the Dragon Blood Sacred Diagram. Of course, if the opponent was in existence on the level of the 7-star Emperor, 1 or 2 attacks on the Dragon Blood Sacred Diagram would be enough to exhaust Long Yu's entire strength. There would be no chance for him to escape. However, this also gave Long Yu some means of self-defense when facing experts on the level of the 7-star Emperor. It was similar to the Red Emperor's cloak he had obtained when he was in the Sovereign Realm. Of course, the Red Emperor's cloak was no longer of any use to him. He hadn't refined the Red Emperor's cloak yet, so the Red Emperor's cloak could only withstand a full blow from a great emperor. For the current Long Yu, it was no longer of much use. Dragon Blood Sky Spear Diagram. Long Yu did not think too much about it. He immediately activated another diagram in the Dragon Blood Saint diagram. A blood-colored spear flew out from the diagram and shot towards Wu Long. Heavenly Lightning Ring Break. Wu Long did not give up. After all, he was a 2-star emperor. His strength was not to be doubted. He took out an Archean mid-tier combat weapon and unleashed countless lightning bolts that spread out in all directions. The lightning bolts contained an endless penetrative electric energy. It was an Archean mid-tier combat weapon, the Heavenly Lightning Ring. It was able to unleash an electric current that could penetrate all defenses and strike the opponent's body. Wu Long's attacks were getting stronger and stronger. After testing out Long Yu's strength, he began to unleash all of his trump cards. It's a heavenly opening technique that's compatible with the Archean combat weapon. The third stage of compatibility is enough to unleash more than half of the Archean combat weapon's power. Long Yu's expression changed slightly. It was too late for him to dodge. His opponent's Heavenly Lightning Ring's power was too fast. In an instant, it smashed onto his body and enveloped him in a ring of lightning. The endless lightning bolts struck Long Yu's body in a terrifying manner. Even a 1-star Emperor or 2-star Emperor would be crippled if they were hit by the Heavenly Lightning Ring, let alone an ordinary late Emperor realm cultivator. The corner of Wu Long's lips curled up into a smile when he saw his opponent's attack land on him. In the end, he's just an old late-stage Emperor. But in the next moment, Wu Long's eyes widened in disbelief as he stared in Long Yu's direction. He saw with his own eyes that the heavenly lightning ring had pierced through the blood-red scroll and struck the old man. But why was the old man not affected at all? Long Yu's entire body was enveloped by the power of the Thunderbolt divine runes, ravaging his entire body. If it was any other late-stage Emperor cultivator, even a beast cultivator with a stronger physique wouldn't have been able to withstand it. He would have been burnt to a crisp by now. But Long Yu had cultivated the realm of death body tempering technique. He had even mastered this top-tier Archean body tempering technique to perfection. Needless to say, he had endured countless life and death torment. The benefit of all this was that his physique was at least 20 to 30 times stronger than an average cultivator of the same realm. Then, in addition to the body-tempering elixir that he had consumed from the ancient dragon elephant's remains, it had increased his physical strength by several times. With these two factors added together, Long Yu's physical body had become unparalleled. The only thing Long Yu couldn't understand was how the heavenly prison Thunder Emperor, who was only an Emperor realm cultivator back then, could possess such a terrifying physique that was much stronger than his own. What he didn't understand was where the heavenly prison Thunder Emperor had gone. But now wasn't the time to think about it. Although he would soon kill Wu Long, he still didn't want to use the martial techniques he once knew. He didn't want other experts to deduce some clues. It wasn't easy to block the heavenly lightning ring's attack with one's physique, but it wasn't enough to injure him. Long Yu couldn't be bothered with it. Dragon blood. Divine lock diagram. On one hand, Long Yu wanted to quickly finish off Wu Long. On the other hand, he wanted to try out the various techniques of the dragon blood sacred diagram. This diagram could activate countless weapons and transform them into different blood-red weapons to attack the enemy, each with different effects. The Dragon Blood Heavenly Shield diagram could spread out a defensive barrier. Its defensive ability was quite good. The Dragon Blood Heavenly Spear diagram could condense a blood-red spear to attack the opponent. Unfortunately, the blood-red spear had been blocked by Wu Long's Emperor's defense mystique. After all, Long Yu had just obtained the Dragon Blood Sacred Diagram and wasn't particularly powerful when he activated it. It was normal for it to be blocked by an Emperor's mystique. Therefore, Long Yu once again activated the Dragon Blood Divine Lock Diagram. Countless blood-red chains suddenly stretched out and locked onto Wu Long's body. Wu Long's body flickered with lightning. Even his eyes were flashing with lightning. You forced me to use Supreme Eyes of God of Lightning. Wu Long's eyes were filled with lightning. This wave of lightning caused the sealed space to tremble slightly. The power of lightning divine characters gushed out and instantly affected Long Yu's mind. Supreme Eyes of God of Lightning was the other Emperor's mystique that Wu Long had as a 2-star Emperor. He had already used his first Emperor's mystique to defend against the Dragon Blood Heavenly Spear diagram. Now, this Supreme Eyes of God of Lightning had instantly pulled Long Yu into a lightning illusion. Long Yu frowned slightly. He hadn't expected Wu Long's technique to be so special. It could even pull his mind into a lightning illusion. It was also at this moment that Wu Long's eyes widened. He realized that the person who had been pulled into his lightning illusion was actually Long Yu. It was Long Yu, the strongest Emperor stage cultivator. It was Long Yu, who was originally the personal disciple of the Red Emperor. What white-haired old man? So this guy was actually Long Yu. What technique did you use? Your concealment ability is actually so strong that even I couldn't detect it. Wu Long's expression changed greatly. He had never expected this old man's true identity to be Long Yu. If he hadn't used the Supreme Eyes of God of Lightning to pull out Long Yu's mind, he definitely wouldn't have discovered this. Have I been seen through? If that's the case, it's time to end this quickly. Killing intent flashed across Long Yu's eyes. He instantly put away his playful thoughts. He could slowly experiment with the dragon blood sacred diagram in the future, but if he didn't kill Wu Long now, the news that he was Long Yu would probably be exposed. Just when Wu Long discovered Long Yu's true identity, Long Yu did not hesitate to release the true origin energy of his true spirit. The aura of the Nine Hells' deterrence shook the entire area and stunned Wu Long's mind. I was too careless. Currently, besides executing the quintessence energy of the ninth hell to completely suppress his consciousness, there's no other way for me to stop him from spreading the news. I must seize this opportunity to kill him. A solemn look flashed across Long Yu's eyes. 2 elegant light blue streams of water had already wrapped around his hands. In the next instant, they turned into 2 invisible light blue daggers that disappeared from his hands. Space-splitting slash. Major completion. Perhaps it was because of the danger of his identity being exposed, but in that moment, Long Yu's mind merged with the Draconic sacred spring like never before. He had finally formed a connection with the endless grade combat weapon, the Draconic sacred spring. Resonance. At the same time, the primordial martial technique derived from the Draconic sacred spring, space-splitting slash, had finally entered the major completion stage. Resonance, major completion. Die. The killing intent in Long Yu's eyes was boundless. The invisible blades formed from the Draconic sacred spring instantly sliced through Wu Long's heart meridians and the inner world connected to them. If Long Yu hadn't suddenly resonated with the Draconic sacred spring and brought the space-splitting slash to the major completion stage, perhaps he wouldn't have been able to kill Wu Long with this move. But now, the 2 invisible blades had completely pierced through Wu Long, and this powerful 2-star Imperial Monarch Realm cultivator was killed without any suspense. The Sky Lightning Hoop and the Lei Emperor's cape belong to the Lei Emperor, so I shouldn't touch them. However, the aura of the 9 Nether Dragon essence and the Draconic sacred spring must be concealed as much as possible. If I don't, my identity will be exposed. Long Yu thought to himself. He knew that if his identity was exposed, he would attract a lot of trouble. The 5 emperors weren't a problem. The problem was the Lushan clan's sovereign mystic realm experts. If they found out, Long Yu would have nowhere to run. After all, Long Yu didn't even know what the sovereign mystic realm had up their sleeves, let alone fight them head-on. He absolutely couldn't let the sovereign mystic realm experts know. If that was the case, how could he conceal the 9 Nether True Spirit Source and the aura of the Draconic Sacred Spring? Chapter 1008. On the Dragon Blood Sacred illustration, there were countless images of weapons, some of which could not even be called weapons at all. For example, as Long Yu searched around, he actually found an image that looked like a gentle breeze on the Dragon Blood Sacred illustration. He then activated it, and a gentle breeze immediately blew out. Dragon Blood Sacred Wind illustration. Long Yu learned the name of this illustration, and at the same time, its effect. It was just right for his current situation. Using the Dragon Blood Sacred Wind illustration, he could erase all traces of power in a certain place. When all traces of power in this place were erased, even the power of deduction would not be able to deduce what had happened here, because all traces had been erased. This was just right for Long Yu to activate now. The Dragon Blood Sacred Wind illustration had been activated several times by Long Yu, and the consumption was quite large. However, this was something that had to be done. After doing all this, the aura of the origin of the 9 Nether and the Draconic Sacred Spring was completely erased. As for the other members of the alliance of 5 emperors who were trapped in the 12 moon-shaped arches, Long Yu could not be bothered to deal with them. After all, they did not make any mistakes and did not provoke Long Yu. Most importantly, their existence did not pose any threat to Long Yu, so there was no need to kill innocent people. After dealing with all this, Long Yu directly teleported out of this place. Now, he had already mastered 25% of the 9 Nether imprint, and he had a vague plan in his mind. Anyway, it would not be that fast to master all the 9 nether imprint. Now, he could try to collect all the relic of the outer god tribe. The so-called outer god tribe was the earth god tribe, the ice god tribe, the fire god tribe, the winged god tribe, and all the other races known as the god tribe. These were powerful races that did not belong to the human tribe, so their relic must be extraordinary. Although Long Yu had obtained the earth god race's relic, he didn't know what use it had. However, it wouldn't be bad for Long Yu to collect the other relic. After that, he wanted to head to the other 7 forbidden grounds to see if the Jiyo Dragon Emperor had hidden anything there. The things left behind by the Jiyo Dragon Emperor were very beneficial to Long Yu. If it wasn't for the things left behind by the Jiyo Dragon Emperor, Long Yu wouldn't have reached the late Emperor realm. About an hour after Long Yu left the place where he killed Wu Long's master, Lei Emperor finally arrived. Here, he could not sense any trace or aura of a battle at all. Even Wu Long's figure had completely disappeared, causing Lei Emperor's face to darken. In the field, there were only 9 emperors from the alliance of 5 emperors left, unconscious on the grass. When he left, Long Yu put away the 12 moon-shaped arched doors, then let the 9 of them fall unconscious on the ground. He didn't leave a single trace of himself behind. Therefore, even if Lei Emperor came, he wouldn't know what had happened here. Very quickly, the 9 emperors from the alliance of 5 emperors woke up. Lei Emperor questioned them, but discovered that they only saw a white-haired old man appear. Then, they were trapped in a strange place, unable to escape. In the end, they fainted. When they woke up, they found that Wu Long was already gone. Where did Wu Long go? Lei Emperor looked up at the sky, thinking of what had happened in the holy city of the 5 emperors some time ago. His 3rd direct disciple, Ji Bai, had also been killed inexplicably. They couldn't even catch the shadow of the killer, and they couldn't even divine any information. Could it be that these 2 brats provoked someone they shouldn't have? Lei Emperor frowned, then waved his hand and left with his people. He had investigated before. Ji Bai had once contacted a killer organization, and that killer organization launched an assassination on the Northern Snow Empire and key figures in the Heavenly Mandate City. However, they didn't succeed, and then Ji Bai was killed. So, the person who killed Ji Bai was related to those key figures in the Heavenly Mandate City? Lei Emperor thought about it, and could only think of one person, Long Yu. However, Long Yu hadn't appeared for a long time, and the person who killed Ji Bai was a middle-aged man. It was unlikely that it was Long Yu, and the method he used was also different from Long Yu's. Lei Emperor couldn't figure it out no matter how he thought about it, so he could only bring his people back. Soon, a team regal from the Lushan clan came to the Shen Wu world, and appeared in the holy city of the 5 emperors. This team regal was here to guard the Shen Wu world, because after the Dark Moon catastrophe, the Lushan clan found that the 5 emperors alone could no longer suppress some existences in the Shen Wu world. In fact, the most important thing was that the Dark Moon catastrophe first suddenly intensified, then mysteriously disappeared, which attracted the attention of the Lushan clan's higher-up. So the higher-ups of the Lushan clan sent a team regal to the Shen Wu world to protect the alliance of 5 emperors, and to search for any suspicious clues. The arrival of the team regal didn't affect the entire Shen Wu world, even the 5 emperors rarely saw them, and no one knew how many people there were in the team regal. Everything related to the team regal was very mysterious. The 5 emperors only knew that something big was about to happen, but they didn't know what it was that attracted this team regal. Of course, Long Yu didn't know about the arrival of the team regal. He controlled 25% of the 9 Nethermark, so he could sense the appearance of existences of the ruler's secret realm, but he couldn't sense those who hadn't reached the ruler's secret realm from the outside world. For the next month, Long Yu traveled around the entire Shen Wu world, and with the help of the 9 Nethermark, he passed by many hidden ancient ruins. He recorded the locations of these ancient ruins in a jade tag, then sent the jade tag to the Northern Snow Empire every once in a while. Currently, the Northern Snow Empire was in the middle of rebuilding, but unfortunately, both Xing Fa and Dao Jingtian had disappeared. Long Yu also knew about this, but he didn't appear in front of everyone. I don't know who did Xing Fa and Dao Jingtian's disappearance, but with my current methods, I can't find anything. Unless they're still in the Nine Nether Realm, then, if I can control more Nine Nether marks, I might be able to sense where they are. Long Yu thought to himself, if they couldn't be found in the Nine Nether Realm, then they've most likely left the Nine Nether Realm and were taken to the outer world. The reason why he didn't think that the two of them would die was because he used his tyrannical power of deduction to deduce that the two of them were still alive. However, there was an extremely strong barrier obstructing Long Yu's deduction of the two of them. Through this strong barrier, Long Yu could feel that his deductions were getting weaker and weaker. Seems like they've left the Nine Nether Realm, but Long Yu couldn't be sure of the specifics, so he could only continue with his plan for now. Once he sends these jade tags that record the location of the hidden age of old ruins back to the Northern Snow Empire, it's easy to imagine how many cultivators will obtain information about these age of old ruins and go search for them. Most likely, not too long after, all the age of old ruins in Shen Wu world will be discovered by Long Yu and sent back to the Northern Snow Empire. At that time, the overall strength of the Northern Snow Empire will definitely far surpass the 6 sects and 10 kingdoms around the 5 emperors' holy city. It might even be able to stand shoulder to shoulder with the alliance of 5 emperors. If I completely obtain the Nine Nether Realm and take it away from here, then the 5 emperors will become history. At that time, Shen Wu world will have to establish a new management system, Long Yu thought to himself. Once he fully grasps the Nine Nether mark, he will be able to control everything within the Nine Nether Realm. Even a ruler's secret realm cultivator who comes to the Nine Nether Realm will be suppressed by him. This is the power of having a miniature world. Long Yu still had a question. If he fully grasps the Nine Nether mark and turns the Nine Nether Realm into his own miniature world, what kind of existence will he have as well as his own inner world become? Will Long Yu be able to become a cultivator with 2 miniature worlds? That's unheard of before. As Long Yu began to travel around Shen Wu world, the Northern Snow Empire's development was also growing at a terrifying rate. Even without Xing Fa and Dao Jingtian, the Northern Snow Empire was much stronger than before the Dark Moon Calamity. As for Long Yu, after wandering around Shen Wu world for half a year, he finally found a clue about the Ice God clan's sacred relic. In this half a year, he was constantly paying attention to the 3 thaumaturgy fruits that were sealed in his body. He found that the 3 thaumaturgy fruits were constantly being weakened while they were sealed. In this half a year, the 3 innate thaumaturgy fruits that were originally Emperor Thaumaturgy were being weakened to Emperor Thaumaturgy, and they were still being weakened. To be honest, this wasn't a bad situation. After all, after a thaumaturgy is weakened, there are still ways to strengthen it, as long as it doesn't cause any permanent damage to the body. That black stone left behind by the Juyo Dragon Emperor, what exactly is it? How could it have such a terrifying effect? If I can extract the evil energy within it, wouldn't I be able to easily cause someone's cultivation to drop? Long Yu was still holding the black stone in his hand. He had a few ideas about this, but right now he definitely couldn't do anything about it. Once I get the Ice God clan's sacred relic, I'll head to the Nine Nether Prison Tablet again and try to comprehend the cultivation method for the 4th stage of the Pure World Physique. I wonder how many stages of the Pure World Physique I need to break through the evil energy seal on the black stone? As Long Yu thought to himself, he arrived at a boundless and boundless ice field. Chapter 1009. When he first sensed the Earth God clan's sacred relic, Long Yu had only grasped 5% of the mark of 9 serenities. But now, he had grasped 25% of the mark of 9 serenities, which was 5 times stronger than before. This allowed him to sense the Ice God clan's sacred relic much further than before. Now, he could faintly sense the aura of the Ice God clan's sacred relic. The Ice God clan's sacred relic was most likely located thousands of miles away. As Long Yu followed the aura, he would be able to find the Ice God clan's sacred relic. Many powerful beasts of the Earth God clan gathered near the sacred object of the Earth God clan, but there were no beasts of the Ice God clan near the sacred object of the Ice God clan. The closest group of beasts of the Ice God clan was even 10,000 miles away. This made Long Yu a bit confused. It seemed that these foreign god clans weren't that sensitive to their own sacred relic. No wonder the Shin Wu world was filled with all kinds of foreign god clans. It seemed that they weren't sure where their sacred relic was hidden by Jiyo Dragon Emperor. Long Yu continued forward. Soon, he felt an endless icy wind blowing from the front. Then, a bottomless ice abyss appeared in front of him. It seems that the Ice God clan's sacred relic is in this ice abyss. There are no ice god beasts around here, but if I open the special space where the Ice God clan's sacred relic is hidden, it might attract many ice god beasts. I need to act quickly. Using the Mark of 9 Serenities, Long Yu had already clearly discovered that the Ice God clan's sacred relic was hidden in this ice abyss. He didn't know how deep it was buried. Long Yu didn't think too much about it and flew straight down the ice abyss. The endless icy wind blew against his face. If a cultivator who hadn't reached the Emperor's level went down a short distance, they would probably be torn to pieces by the endless icy cracks. Luckily, Long Yu's physical body had already reached the Emperor's level. The icy cracks were still within his tolerance range. The deeper he went, the fiercer the chilly wind became. His skin began to crack, and scarlet blood seeped out. Death Chi Entanglement. After Long Yu had fallen to a depth of 10,000 feet, he had no choice but to activate the Death Entanglement to reduce the power of the frigid ice gale by half. Only then was he able to withstand it. When he descended to a depth of 20,000 feet, even the deathly aura around his body could no longer completely block out the onslaught of the frigid winds. He had no choice but to unleash the death armor to block out the frigid winds. After 300 kilometers, Long Yu activated the Dragon Blood Sacred Diagram's Dragon Blood Heavenly Shield. After 400 kilometers, Long Yu could only hide in the Dragon Bone Ancient Tower and activate the 9 Nether Heavenly Screen to continue descending. At a depth of 50,000 feet, Long Yu finally sensed that the ancient dragon skeleton tower had touched the bottom of the entire abyss. With a loud crash, the Dragon Bone Ancient Tower stood tall at the bottom of the abyss. This place was almost the same as the underground space where the Earth God clan's holy relic had been. The endless icy wind was not only extremely destructive, but it could also block all deductions and the power of the space divine text. Only existences that surpassed the 5th star Imperial Monarch realm could come to this place, and even if it was an ordinary 4th star Imperial Monarch realm expert that came here, the expert would be sliced into pieces by the piercingly cold winds without leaving a corpse behind. No wonder this place hasn't been discovered by the Ice God clan's beasts. But come to think of it, the Lushan clan must have sent fighters to this place. It's just that there wasn't anything valuable at the bottom of the abyss, so they left. They probably didn't expect the Ice God clan's holy relic to be hidden here. A sharp light flashed in Long Yu's eyes. He decided to open the space at the bottom of the abyss as soon as possible and take away the Ice God clan's holy relic. In the half a year of traveling in the Shin Wu world, Long Yu had already grasped 30% of the 9 Nether Mark. He knew very well that the Ice God clan's holy relic was hidden at the bottom of the abyss. However, the bottom of the abyss was made of extremely hard ice. Even a 7-star emperor wouldn't be able to break it open. Even a sovereign realm expert could only slowly break it open. Once the ice was broken a little, it would immediately turn back into ice. There was only one way to break through the ice at the bottom of the abyss, and that was to use the 9 Nether Divine Text to corrode it. As this was arranged by the Jiyo Dragon Emperor when he was still alive, when the 9 nether divine text touched the ice at the bottom of the ice abyss, the ice began to melt, and there were no signs of it turning back into ice. A few days later, Long Yu successfully used the 9 nether divine text to open a 10 zhang long ice tunnel, allowing him to go to the special space at the bottom of the ice abyss. In this place, even the unique spatial energy of the 9 nether realm is unable to be used. Looks like all spatial energies of different natures are absolutely sealed in this place, and are unable to be used. Looks like I have to move as fast as I can. Otherwise, if someone else blocks this icy passage, even I might not be able to get out. As Long Yu thought to himself, he stepped into the icy passageway and slid down rapidly towards the ground. The problem that followed was that a special aura was seeping out from the bottom of the ice tunnel, spreading towards the outside world. This was the special power of the Ice God Clan's holy relic. Very soon, a group of Ice God Clan beasts would be attracted here, but the first batch of Ice God Clan beasts would definitely not be able to pass through the entire ice abyss. The Ice God Clan beasts that had not reached the level of a 5-star emperor would be directly swept to death by the biting cold wind in the abyss. By the time the Ice God Clan mustered the 5-star emperor level experts to come here, Long Yu would most likely have already obtained the Ice God Clan's holy relic. Once he succeeded, no one would be able to break through the restriction of Consort Yu to sense the location of the Ice God Clan's holy relic. Long Yu slid down Tenjiang, and soon arrived at a vast underground space under the ice layer. In this underground space, the cold aura was extremely strong, and everything would be frozen into ice here. Even Long Yu had to maintain the double defense of the death aura and the death armor at all times to ensure that he would not be frozen into an ice sculpture. This underground space only has 2 floors, and there are no ice statues or anything like that. It seems that if other experts come down here, I won't even be able to borrow their strength. I don't know what the Juyo Dragon Emperor is thinking. Does he think that when he comes to obtain the Ice God Clan's holy relic, no one will be able to stop him? Long Yu thought to himself, and roughly understood the Juyo Dragon Emperor's thoughts. In the hidden space of the Earth God Clan's holy relic, there were countless 7-star Emperor-level statues guarding it. This was the preparation that the Juyo Dragon Emperor had made for himself when he borrowed a body to be reborn. As for the Ice God Clan's holy relic, the Juyo Dragon Emperor might want to wait until his strength had increased to a certain level before he could take it away, so he did not set up any defensive forces. This was not good news for Long Yu, because it meant that if someone else came here, he would not be able to resist at all. One had to know that those who could pass through the ice abyss were at least 5-star Emperor-level existences. This was an existence that even the Crane Ju puppet of the First Heaven Division might not be able to deal with. If the 7-star Emperor came down, the Crane Ju puppet of the 5-star Emperor level could at most resist for 3 breaths of time. However, Long Yu was not too worried about his own safety. Instead, he quickly walked towards the depths of the underground space. This was because he still had a trump card that even the Juyo Dragon Emperor did not have, and that was the Book of Dark Shadows. The Book of Dark Shadows could allow him to continuously disguise himself as other existences. It was definitely a top-notch technique in terms of hiding and escaping. Below the ice there were 2 floors of space. In the first floor there were many Archean and Archean elixirs. Unfortunately, many of them had already been taken by Long Yu, so the effects would not be as good if he took them again. Of course, Long Yu had the Netherworld Dragon Blade, so he could absorb all the effects of the elixirs he took, which was several times better than others. Even if he took an elixir for the 4th time, the effects would be comparable to some people taking it for the 2nd or even the 1st time. Of course, these Archean and Archean elixirs were all taken away by Long Yu. He did not use them for the time being, because he still needed the heaven and earth spiritual chi in the future. Apart from the elixirs, there were also some jade scrolls that recorded martial arts techniques, as well as a few stones of different colors. These stones contained the auras of various divine characters of different attributes. Long Yu was quite surprised, because the function of these stones was to increase the compatibility between the cultivator and the divine characters of their respective attributes. Right now, apart from reaching the 10th level of compatibility with the shadow attribute divine characters, Long Yu's compatibility with the divine characters of other attributes was only at the 5th level. If not for the fact that he had reached the 10th level of compatibility with the shadow attribute divine characters, he would not even be qualified to cultivate divine formations. If he could reach a higher level of compatibility with the divine characters of other attributes, the power of the divine formations he could use would be even greater. This was especially true for the 3rd grade divine formation, Scarlet Blood, which was most suitable for the divine characters of the Berserker attribute, and the 2nd grade divine formation, 12-star Prison, which was most suitable for the divine characters of the elemental attribute. Long Yu first put away these stones of different colors. He did not absorb the energy within them on the spot, because he knew that if the aura of the Ice God clan's holy artifact leaked out, he would not be safe right now. After searching through the first layer of space, Long Yu stepped into the second layer of space below the ice layer. In the center of this floor, he finally saw the Ice God clan's holy artifact. It was an ice statue that looked like a miniature hexagonal ice crystal. If it was not for the fact that there was no aura of life within it, Long Yu would have thought that it was a small Ice God clan beast. In other words, the Ice God clan's holy artifact looked exactly the same as the Ice God clan beast, of course, except for the size. Long Yu walked toward the small hexagonal ice crystal, wanting to put it away. Chapter 10:10. The Ice God exotic beasts had obviously sensed the aura of the holy relic coming from the bottom of the ice abyss. Hence, they had all gathered here and jumped into the ice abyss, hoping to obtain the holy relic. Unfortunately, the nearby Ice God exotic beasts were all relatively weak. There weren't even any Ice God exotic beasts at the level of the Emperor. If they jumped into the ice abyss one by one, only death awaited them. The cold winds in the ice abyss were biting cold. Those below the level of a 5-star Emperor would surely die if they jumped in. Even Long Yu had to rely on the defensive capabilities of the Dragon Bone Tower to pass through safely. Just as the Ice God exotic beasts were recklessly jumping into the ice abyss, Long Yu had already grasped the small hexagonal ice crystal in his hand. The Earth God sacred relic from before was also a hexagonal crystal, but it was brown in color, and contained the source of 6 types of Earth God divine text. Now, the Ice God exotic beast that Long Yu had obtained was a light blue hexagonal ice crystal statue. It was like a miniature version of the Ice God exotic beast. It also contained 6 ice attribute divine text sources. Unfortunately, Long Yu had no way to absorb or comprehend the power within, so for the time being, he still didn't know what use these foreign god races' sacred objects would have for him. However, since the Geo Dragon Emperor had kept it a secret, it must be useful. Long Yu might not be able to figure it out now, but he might be able to in the future. Even Consort Yu didn't seem to know what use the Earth God's sacred relic had. It seems like it'll take a long time to find out the answer to this question, Long Yu thought. Up until now, all the treasures stored by the Geo Dragon Emperor in the Ice Abyss had been taken away by Long Yu. The problem he faced now was how to escape from the endless horde of Ice God exotic beasts. I can only rely on the Book of Shadows, Long Yu thought to himself. Looks like I'll have to use up a lot of energy this time. Before leaving the abyss, Long Yu had absorbed the energy from over 1,000 exotic beast crystals into the Nether Void Dragon Blade. As long as he needed it, he could absorb it at any time. This way, he could replenish his strength at least 10 times over. From the bottom of the ice abyss to the outside world, Long Yu couldn't hide in the Dragon Bone Tower anymore. Otherwise, it wouldn't be convenient for him to move around if he was discovered by the Ice God exotic beast. Therefore, Long Yu's only choice was to transform into a cold current. By relying on the Book of Shadows, he could transform his body into a biting cold current and float upward. This way, he could leave without being affected by the endless cold current. However, transforming into another power would consume a lot of Long Yu's power, so Long Yu had stored some power in the Nether Void Dragon Blade. It's starting. Frost Incarnation. Long Yu left the icy passageway, and his body instantly dissipated. He turned into a cold current in an instant, blending into the endless chilly winds in the depths of the ice abyss. Silently, Long Yu kept rising into the air. At the same time, the energy in his body was being consumed at a crazy rate. Even though he had stored the energy from over 1,000 exotic beast crystals, it still didn't seem to be enough. Fortunately, Long Yu's speed was also very fast after he transformed into a stream of cold air. Before long, he could feel the Ice God clan's strange beasts jumping down from the sky and being torn to shreds by the biting cold wind around him. These strange beasts were all in the Divine Secret Realm, King Realm, and Emperor Realm. They couldn't resist the cold wind at all. The chilly winds have weakened. It's about time. The energy in Long Yu's body, including the energy he had stored beforehand, was almost completely consumed in this short period of time. Then, the Book of Shadows flipped again, disguising him as a mid-stage Emperor Realm Ice God exotic beast. The energy required to disguise as a living creature was thousands of times less than before. Long Yu let out a sigh of relief. It seemed like he didn't have to worry about running out of energy for the time being. While the surrounding Ice God exotic beasts weren't paying attention to Long Yu, the mid-stage Emperor Realm Ice God exotic beast that Long Yu had transformed into flew above the ice abyss at top speed, and then flew away into the distance. Just when Long Yu felt that he was already safe, a trace of vigilance suddenly appeared in the depths of his heart, giving him a premonition of extreme danger. Not good dodge. Although Long Yu didn't know where the danger was coming from, he still reacted immediately. His whole body turned into a speck of dust, and the body of the Ice God exotic beast instantly disintegrated and dissipated in the air. Immediately afterward, a terrifying flame power descended from the sky and blasted towards the ice abyss in an instant. Countless Ice God exotic beasts were killed by the power of the flame divine characters. Not even their corpses were left behind. It's an attack from at least a 5-star emperor. Long Yu turned into a speck of dust. In the next instant, he completely fused with the terrifying flame energy, allowing him to survive the attack. However, as a result, the energy within Long Yu's body had been completely used up. There was simply no energy left for him to use any other methods. Disguise. Stone. Long Yu consumed the last trace of energy in his body and finally managed to disguise himself as a small stone. He fell to the ground as if he was scorched by the flame. Disguising as a still object consumed less energy than disguising as a living creature, and it was a one-time consumption. Now that Long Yu had transformed into a stone, if he didn't come out himself, no one would find out that it was actually a person in disguise. Of course, the biggest drawback of disguising as a still object was that most still objects were very fragile. For a powerhouse at the level of the Emperor, it was to the extent that it would shatter with a touch. If he wanted to disguise himself as a relatively strong still object, then the amount of energy needed would increase exponentially. Now that Long Yu had exhausted all of his energy, disguising himself as a small stone was already his limit. If the soul seal siphon was not sealed, I could casually explode a few siphon totems, and the power in my body would be full in an instant. It's a pity that the soul seal siphon magic was sealed by the evil power of the black stone. I can't use it. Long Yu felt that it was a pity. Then he felt that several powerful existences were descending from the sky above the ice abyss. Long Yu didn't dare to probe, but he could feel that these 4 or 5 powerhouses descending from the sky were definitely at the level of the Emperor. After disguising as a stone, Long Yu had no hearing and no vision. He could only rely on his weak perception. If he hadn't practiced the 6th level of balanced control, he might not even know where the other party was and what kind of strength they had. It could be said that he was in the dark. I hope they don't destroy this place, Long Yu thought. If this small stone that he disguised as was destroyed, then his body would have nowhere to escape. At that time, facing 4 or 5 existences that were at least at the level of the 5-star Emperor, he basically had no way to survive. The cultivators at the level of the 5-star Emperor definitely came from outer space. As for why they appeared here, perhaps it was because of the aura of the Ice God clan's holy relic. Long Yu silently hid himself. Soon, he sensed that there were a total of 5 imperial monarchs in the vicinity, and there seemed to be even more imperial monarchs hidden in the clouds in the sky. This was a team regal. Long Yu thought to himself, for the Lushan clan to send such a small team to Shenwu world, what are they trying to do? The matter of the 9 serenities mark shouldn't have been exposed yet, which means that these people are only here to investigate. From this, it can be seen that the higher-ups of the Lushan clan have already discovered the recent abnormalities in the 9 serenities realm, including the Dark Moon calamity. As Long Yu thought to himself, he became even more cautious. Since the Lushan clan had already discovered the abnormalities, then he would have to be more careful in his actions from now on. Otherwise, if he wasn't careful, he would be caught by the Lushan clan, and at that time, he wouldn't even know how he died. The 9 serenities mark definitely couldn't be transferred to anyone else, otherwise consort you wouldn't have needed to personally train Long Yu. If that's the case, if the Lushan clan caught Long Yu and found out that he had the 9 serenities dragon mark in his body, then there would only be 2 choices. One was to imprison Long Yu, make him serve the Lushan clan and lose his freedom. The other was to directly kill him and be done with it. Neither was what Long Yu wanted. So right now, he was praying that they would leave as soon as possible, that way he would be safe. Finally, after waiting for more than 2 hours, the Emperor powerhouses scattered in all directions. It seemed like they were trying to find some clues. All the Ice God clan exotic beasts were killed, and since the aura of the Ice God clan's sacred relic had disappeared, it didn't attract any more Ice God clan exotic beasts. When the aura of the Emperor powerhouses disappeared, Long Yu heaved a sigh of relief. However, he still didn't let his guard down. He continued to disguise himself as a small stone while he recovered his strength in the Book of Dark Shadows. 6 hours passed. The Emperor powerhouses returned to the Ice Abyss several times, but they still couldn't find Long Yu, nor did they find any clues. They didn't know where the Ice God clan's sacred relic at the bottom of the abyss had gone. 2 Emperor powerhouses seemed to have gone to the bottom of the abyss, but they definitely didn't find anything. It seems like they knew someone came here and took away the Ice God clan's sacred relic. After waiting for 6 hours, Long Yu's strength was almost fully recovered. Then he disguised himself as a breeze and flew into the distance. In front of the Emperor powerhouses, even if it was just a gust of wind, it was very likely that they would notice it. So Long Yu could only follow the natural flow of air and slowly leave this place. Chapter 10-11. A gentle breeze blew past. Around the ice abyss, Team Regal had searched countless times, almost everywhere, but still couldn't find a single trace of a suspicious person. This made their expressions very ugly. They were combatants of the Lushan clan from beyond Heaven World, yet they still couldn't find a single thing that they couldn't do in a small world like Shenwu World? This made the Team Regal's leader very angry. He ordered everyone in Team Regal to search day and night. As long as they could find even the slightest trace, they would be able to deduce the entire truth. While they were busy searching, Long Yu had already been blown 100 miles away by the breeze. Then, Long Yu disguised himself as a small bird and flew away at an even faster speed. After repeating this a few times, it didn't take long for Long Yu to be 500 kilometers away from the ice abyss, and then he activated the 9th hell mark to construct a spatial passageway. After he stepped into it, he instantly vanished without a trace. Long Yu didn't know whether or not the Team Regal was still searching, but he was sure that they wouldn't find anything useful. And the direction that Long Yu was heading towards was the 9 Serenities Black Palace that was a dozen warps away from Shen Wu World. The 9 Serenities Black Palace was one of the 7 forbidden areas of the 9 Serenities realm. Before, Long Yu was possessed by Geo-Dragon Emperor's remnant will here, and because of the Envoy of Death's vengeance, he instead obtained the 9 Serenities mark and gained control of the entire 9 Serenities realm. Now, he returned here again to observe the 9 Serenities prison tablet and try to comprehend the cultivation method for the 4th stage of the Pure World Physique. The Pure World Physique was the only method he could think of to remove the seal on the divine ability fruit in his body. Compared to the time when he comprehended the 3rd stage, Long Yu's cultivation realm had increased, and his grasp of the 9 Serenities mark had also increased. In theory, he should be able to comprehend the cultivation method for the 4th stage of the Pure World Physique. However, the 9 Hell Tablet was too profound and mysterious. Long Yu did not have the slightest bit of confidence in this trip. He only wanted to give it a try. If he could increase the cultivation level of the body of Pure World, then Long Yu would most likely be able to break the seal and regain the use of his 3 innate skills. The main thing was that if this continued, the 3 innate mystiques would all be demoted to Monarch Mystique. One must know that they hadn't even been used after being upgraded to Emperor Mystique. Anyone would be displeased if they were demoted. If they could resolve this, it would be better to resolve it as soon as possible. The 9 Nether Profound Palace and the 9 Nether Prison Tablet quickly appeared in front of Long Yu. Even if it was an ordinary Sovereign Realm expert that came from the outside world, it was impossible for them to enter the special space where the 9 Nether Profound Palace was located. That was because the space with 9 Nether Divine characters was too corrosive, and it was impossible to pass through. Only the few big shots of the Lushan clan could work together to open a space tunnel that led to the 9 Nether Profound Palace. Moreover, it could only be opened once every 50 years, and it was convenient to use this time to hold the God Martial Emperor Conference. When he returned to the front of the 9 Nether Prison Tablet again, Long Yu felt that this incomparably huge and gloomy stone tablet had a whole new feeling. If he only understood 10% of the 9 Nether Prison Tablet before, then his understanding of the 9 Nether Prison Tablet seemed to have increased to 30% or even 40%, which was 3 to 4 times better than before. Long Yu compared his current state with the state he was in before, and inwardly guessed that it was because he had grasped more of the 9 Nether marks. Previously, he didn't grasp much of the 9 Nether marks, so he could only comprehend a little bit of the 9 Nether Prison Tablet. But now that Long Yu had grasped 30% of the 9 Nether marks, his understanding of the 9 Nether Prison Tablet had unexpectedly deepened. Of course, according to this progress, even if Long Yu had grasped all of the 9 Nether marks, he would only be able to comprehend a little bit of the 9 Nether Prison Tablet. It could be seen that the more Long Yu grasped the 9 Nether marks, the more he could inherit the Geo-Dragon Emperor's understanding of the 9 Nether Prison Tablet. So that's how it is. I didn't comprehend the cultivation method of the first 3 realms of the world pure body from the 9 Serene Prison Steel, but I inherited it from the 9 Serene Dragon Seal. After speculating such a situation, Long Yu was slightly disappointed. After all, he initially thought that he was gifted in cultivation and had an extraordinary ability to comprehend. Of course, this was considered a benefit to Long Yu. At his current level, it was too difficult for him to comprehend the things in the 9 Nether Prison Tablet. If he hadn't inherited the Geo-Dragon Emperor's understanding from the 9 Nether mark, he might not have been able to comprehend anything about the body of Pure World. This means that as long as I grasp 100% of the 9 Nether marks, I will be able to obtain all the things that the Dragon Emperor had comprehended from the 9 nether prison tablet. This is a great deal. Long Yu's eyes instantly lit up. From the body of Pure World, it could be seen that the Dragon Emperor had definitely comprehended a lot of things from the 9 nether prison tablet. It was even possible that 2 out of the 3 secret martial arts techniques were comprehended from the 9 nether prison tablet. This could also explain why the Dragon Emperor had been hiding the Death Messenger and the others. It was because the body of Pure World was comprehended from the 9 nether prison tablet. It could be said that it was the biggest trump card of the Dragon Emperor. Apart from the body of Pure World and balanced control, I might be able to grasp the remaining secret martial arts technique of the Dragon Emperor very soon. I just don't know what it is. Long Yu was looking forward to it, but he didn't think too much about it at the moment. If he didn't comprehend more than 50% of the 9 nether mark, he might not have the slightest chance. But at this moment, Long Yu had some confidence in his heart. The cultivation method for the 4th level of the World Purity Body, as well as the 5th and 6th level of the World Purity Body, was just around the corner. In fact, he might even obtain some other things. What he could obtain would depend on what the Dragon Emperor had comprehended from the 9 nether prison tablet. Long Yu floated in the air in front of the huge 9 nether prison tablet. He was like an insignificant ant, but he had obtained countless treasures from it. Body of Pure World. The cultivation method of the 4th level. After comprehending for 3 days, Long Yu finally obtained the cultivation method of the 4th level of the body of Pure World. Then, Long Yu did not waste any time and immediately started cultivating. Previously, he had saved a lot of ancient level and ancient level elixirs, and even the 3 infinite level elixirs that he obtained from the 9 dark moon. These elixirs, he stored them for use at this moment. Although he had consumed many ancient level and ancient level elixirs, they still had some effect. After all, they were elixirs that the Dragon Emperor had kept for himself, so their quality was still trustworthy. In fact, these elixirs even came with other special effects. For example, they could improve Long Yu's compatibility with various attributes of the divine text, improve his perceptual acuity, improve his deduction ability, and so on. After consuming these elixirs, Long Yu could be said to have improved in all aspects. However, the improvement was not very significant. The biggest change was that when the 3 infinite level elixirs erupted with the heaven and earth spiritual chi, Long Yu directly infused it into his body to cultivate the body of Pure World. This time, the body of Pure World directly broke through to the 4th level. After reaching the 4th level of the body of Pure World, it was not so easy to improve it. Back then, Long Yu had used more than a year to reach the 5th level of balanced control, and he had also consumed a lot of infinite level elixirs. Moreover, the cultivation of the body of Pure World required more heaven and earth spiritual chi than balanced control, which showed that as a martial arts secret technique, it was of a higher grade than balanced control. When the body of Pure World reached the 4th level, the evil power that entangled the 3 divine art fruits was finally dispersed, and under the protection of the body of Pure World, it disappeared without a trace. It's finally done. Long Yu nodded in satisfaction. He had not reached his limit yet. After absorbing the elixirs, the body of Pure World reached the 4th level, and the side effects of the black stone were gone. He could still continue to comprehend the 9 underworlds prison tablet. Of course, even if he comprehended the cultivation methods of the 5th and 6th level of the body of Pure World, he did not have enough heaven and earth spiritual chi to cultivate it. However, it was not a bad choice to grasp it first, and then cultivate it when the time was right. In any case, there was nothing urgent for Long Yu to do now, so he could just cultivate in peace. The 5th level of the body of Pure World, and the 6th level of the body of Pure World. I have finally obtained the cultivation methods for these 2 levels. In that case, should I use this black stone as well? Long Yu hesitated for a moment before taking out the last black stone. The previous 2 pitch-black stones had given Long Yu a great deal of trouble. As a result, he did not dare to absorb the energy within the last pitch-black stone. Although the cultivation of his body of pure world had reached a higher level, he did not dare to absorb the power of the black stone. Forget it, this thing is too dangerous. Although absorbing the power of the stone is enough for one of my divine fruit to step into the Emperor Path divine power, the side effects should not be underestimated. Long Yu shook his head in the end and gave up on the idea of absorbing the black stone. On the contrary, he had another thought. Could he comprehend the power of the black stone and use it against other enemies? If he could master the evil sealing power within it, he would be able to weaken the level of his opponent's innate divine power, causing his opponent's martial path realm to decline. This was an extremely terrifying method. Long Yu played with the black stone and decided to study it when it was about time. As for now, he had inherited other things from the 9 Underworlds prison tablet. These things allowed Long Yu to understand the origin of the 9 Underworlds divine language. This was the core thing that Jiuyo Dragon Emperor had inherited from the 9 Underworlds prison tablet. Chapter 10-12. Long Yu continued to comprehend the 9 Abyss prison tablet, and the things he obtained shocked him. In the Beyond Heaven world, it was rumored that all the divine character powers were created by the deities. Of course, this included the 9 Abyss divine character that Jiuyo Dragon Emperor comprehended. However, Long Yu now knew from the 9 Abyss prison tablet that the power of the 9 Abyss divine character originated from the creator of the 9 Abyss prison tablet. No one knew who the creator of the 9 Abyss prison tablet was, not even the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor. However, the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor comprehended the 9 Abyss divine character from the 9 Abyss prison tablet, which was why he became stronger step by step, and finally reached the level of a deity. The 9 Abyss divine character in the 9 Abyss prison tablet was a level higher than the origin level 9 Abyss divine character that Long Yu comprehended. It was known as the Revelation level divine character. It was known as the Revelation level divine character because the divine character of this level was the power that the deities obtained inspiration from the power of the 5 elements and created. This Revelation level divine character was even more powerful than the most primitive power of the 5 elements. So, the 9 Abyss divine character that Jiuyo Dragon Emperor comprehended was the Revelation level divine character power. No, in other words, it can no longer be considered a divine character power, but a kind of derivative power of the 5 elements. And the derivative power of the 5 elements is the power that the deities used. It can only be obtained by modifying the 5 elements. Creation, change, this kind of power can only be possessed by the deities. I can't believe that the legendary deities really exist. However, I don't know where the deities are. And why was the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor judged and killed by the deities? When Long Yu found out the truth, he had even more questions. These questions could not be answered from the 9 Abyss prison tablet. Perhaps even the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor himself did not know why he had provoked the judgment of the gods. Long Yu could rely on the 9 Nether Mark to inherit the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor's control of the 9 Nether Prison Tablet's power, as well as some information about the 9 Nether Prison Tablet. However, he couldn't know the Jiuyo Dragon Emperor's previous thoughts. Therefore, there were some truths that the current Long Yu definitely couldn't touch. I'm still far from reaching the Sovereign's secret realm. What's the point of thinking so much about gods? Long Yu shook his head helplessly and continued to comprehend the 9 Hell Tablet. Unfortunately, his current mastery of the 9 Nethermark was still insufficient. It seemed like he could not comprehend the power of the Enlightenment Level 9 Nether Divine Text from the 9 Nether Prison Tablet. 30% mastery of the 9 Nethermark was about all he could obtain. If he wanted to obtain more from the 9 Nether Prison Tablet, He would have to wait until Long Yu mastered more of the 9 nether mark. Since I have nothing to do for now, I might as well roam around the 9 nether realm and see if I can find a whirlpool like the one from before. That way, I can quickly improve my mastery of the 9 nether mark. Long Yu thought to himself. Then, he activated the 9 nether mark and created a teleportation channel, flying out of the 9 nether palace. In the 9 nether realm, there was an endless void and endless silence. Cultivating in the 9 nether realm could be said to be extremely boring. However, Long Yu was able to endure this kind of time. Even if he was drifting in the endless void, he was completely fearless. If it was an ordinary person, it would be very easy for them to have mental problems in a completely silent environment. Even a 7-star imperial monarch would definitely have mental problems after drifting in such a place for a long time. To Long Yu, there was no need for him to worry. That was because his willpower was extremely strong. Very soon, Long Yu left the space where the 9 nether palace was and began to roam around the 9 nether realm. Because he was not sure where the whirlpools were, he could only search bit by bit. What gave him some confidence was that he had now mastered 30% of the 9 nether mark. The range of the 9 nether realm that he could sense was much larger than before, and it would be much easier for him to search. During this period of searching, the only thing that Long Yu could do was to comprehend the 3rd-grade god formation, the scarlet blood, and study the dragon blood sacred diagram. About 2 months had passed. Long Yu had already traveled a very long distance in the void. He had even completely comprehended the 3rd-grade god formation, the scarlet blood. He finally sensed a wisp of the Juyo Dragon Emperor's aura in the void 10,000 miles away from him. Could it be that whirlpool? Let's go take a look. Long Yu was the first to react. After 2 months of searching, he was finally going to have some result. When he traveled 10,000 miles and reached the place where the Juyo Dragon Emperor's aura was coming from, he found that it was indeed a whirlpool. It was exactly the same as the one he encountered when he brought Lei Emperor, Flame Emperor, and Shi Yenwu back to the Shen Wu world after the conference of martial gods and gods. However, this whirlpool seemed to contain a bit more concentrated Juyo Dragon Emperor's aura than the one before. Long Yu vigilantly checked his surroundings. After confirming that there were no hidden dangers, he flew towards the place and began to absorb the Juyo Dragon Emperor's aura from the whirlpool. In these 2 months, Long Yu's mastery of the 9 nether mark had already reached 31%. After this, he should be able to raise it to above 33%. It really is more than last time. However, the more I master the 9 nether mark, the more Juyo Dragon Emperor's aura I need. It seems like it will be very difficult to completely master the 9 nether mark. Long Yu thought to himself as he absorbed the aura. The time needed to master the first 30% of the 9 nether mark was completely different from the time needed to master the last 30%. Long Yu had already mastered the first 30%, but to master the last 30%, he would probably need to spend more than 100 times the time. This made Long Yu a bit puzzled. According to his original estimation, it would take at least 7 to 8 years to completely master the 9 nether mark. Now, it seemed that the further he went, the more difficult it would be to calculate the time needed. If he was unlucky, he might not be able to succeed even after spending more than 100 years, especially during this period. He must not let the Lushan clan find out anything. Otherwise, it was very likely that Long Yu would have died before he could fully grasp the 9 nether mark. 32, 33. As expected, when he had only mastered 33%, the entire whirlpool was absorbed by Long Yu. If he wanted to master more of the 9 nether mark, it would be more and more difficult. However, the good thing was that Long Yu could now feel the existence of the whirlpool from thousands of miles away. If he searched for more, his progress would not be too slow. Moreover, as his mastery of the 9 nether mark increased, the power he could borrow from the 9 nether mark would also become stronger. Although he had only mastered 33% of the 9 nether mark, if he were to fight, any technique he used would be enhanced by the 9 nethermark itself, causing the power to increase by 20 times. This was an extremely terrifying number. Simply put, the enhancement of the 9 nethermark indirectly increased Long Yu's basic power by 20 times, which was equivalent to increasing his martial arts realm by 3 levels. The reason why Long Yu was able to easily kill Lei Emperor's chief disciple, Wu Long, was largely due to the enhancement of the 9 nethermark, which increased his power by more than 10 times. Although Long Yu's cultivation level was still in the late Emperor realm, in the 9 nethermark, he was strong enough to deal with a 3-star Emperor, or even a normal 4-star Emperor. Long Yu was planning to use the Crane Ju puppet that was given to him by Tian E. Crane for practice. Of course, he could not do it now. He had to at least reach the level of a 1-star Emperor before he could try to deal with the Crane Ju puppet. Otherwise, he would only be courting death and wasting the activation time of the Crane Ju puppet. Alright, let's look for the next one. After Long Yu finished absorbing the whirlpool, he immediately set off to look for the next one. However, at that moment, he suddenly furrowed his brows. That was because a powerful deduction ability had suddenly descended upon him. Moreover, this deduction ability was somewhat special. If it was an ordinary deduction ability, it would definitely be blocked by the restriction that Concubine Yu had set up. However, this deduction ability was not blocked by Concubine Yu's restriction. Instead, it was directly used on Long Yu's body. This deduction power, where did it come from? Long Yu immediately became incomparably vigilant. If the restriction set by Consort Yu did not have any reaction, then the other party was either very strong enough to surpass the level of Consort Yu, or the other party had some special method to bypass the restriction and directly use it on him. Long Yu wanted to use his own deduction power to stop it. Although his deduction power was much weaker than the other party, he couldn't just stand there and do nothing, right? But in the next moment, he suddenly discovered that the deduction power suddenly stopped. In just 3 breaths of time, the other party seemed to have grasped a lot of key information about him. From this, it could be seen that the person who was deducing Long Yu's information had at least reached the level of the 5-star Emperor, otherwise, it was impossible to deduce his information so quickly. As for the other party suddenly giving up, that was even more impossible. Long Yu did not think too much about it, and immediately became vigilant, starting to build a transmission channel towards the 9 Nether Black Palace. If a super expert really came and wanted to make a move on him, the only safe places in the 9 Nether world were the 7 Great Forbidden Lands. The 7 Great Forbidden Lands were places that even Sovereign Realm experts might not dare to step into, and one of the 7 Great Forbidden Lands that was closest to Long Yu was, of course, the 9 Nether Black Palace. However, before Long Yu could even construct a teleportation channel to leave this place, 2 spatial ripples suddenly flickered in the void not too far away from him. Following that, 2 mysterious men in black cloaks appeared in the void. These 2 mysterious men did not have any insignia on their black clothes and black cloak. If not for Long Yu cultivating the balanced control art, he would not have discovered them. Who are you? Chapter 10:13. The 2 mysterious men in black cloaks that appeared in the void did not attack Long Yu, but neither did they do anything. They simply floated in the void, as if they were observing Long Yu. Taking advantage of this opportunity, Long Yu could decisively step into the teleportation channel and leave. However, he hesitated for a moment. That was because he did not sense any killing intent from these 2 mysterious men. In fact, there wasn't even the most basic hostility. Not enemies? Then they're friends. These 2 definitely aren't from Shen Wu world. If that's the case, then they're from the Jiu clan? Long Yu's heart stirred as he thought of such a possibility. Of course, these 2 mysterious men could be from other clans, but if they weren't from the Lushan clan or the Jiu clan, why would they need to calculate Long Yu's location before coming here? Not to mention, only people sent by Consort Yu could successfully calculate Long Yu's location. Otherwise, there was no way that Consort Yu's seal wouldn't have been so quiet. Are you two from the Jiu clan? Long Yu asked in a low voice. It had only been a breath's time since he instinctively asked, but he had already thought of so many things and roughly guessed their identities. Impressive. One of the mysterious men chuckled. Senior Consort Yu is right, this kid is not simple. Although his martial arts realm has yet to reach a certain level, he's quite smart. This man's voice was clear and gentle, which was very pleasant to listen to. If one met him for the first time, they would not feel any hostility towards him. The other man's voice was a bit hoarse, not bad. If that's the case, I'm relieved. Long Yu, let me introduce ourselves first. We are indeed from the Jiu clan. Senior Consort Yu sent us here to protect you. Protect me? Could it be that the Lushan clan has noticed something? Long Yu frowned and asked. They don't know yet, but Senior Consort Yu probably sent us here to protect you because you might be in danger. The gentleman smiled and said, Let me introduce myself, I am Si Yuanbai, and this is Diao Feng. I'm afraid we'll have to spend some time with you. I didn't expect Consort Yu to value me so much, Long Yu thought. He tried to sense the other party's martial arts realm and found that he couldn't see through their cultivation. Most likely, they had some special methods to hide their cultivation. However, Long Yu had cultivated the 6th stage of balanced control. Even if the other party had some methods to hide their cultivation, Long Yu was still able to see through some clues. Of these two mysterious men, one was called Si Yuanbai, and the other was called Diao Fei. They were definitely existences that had stepped into the sovereign's secret realm. Long Yu could sense a faint trace of the power of creation from them. Only cultivators who had reached the ruler's secret realm could possess the power of creation. One had to know that Long Yu had comprehended a little bit of the power of creation. One could say that he wouldn't face any bottlenecks if he wanted to step into the sovereign's secret realm. Even so, Long Yu didn't possess any power of creation. There was only one possibility for the other party to have the power of creation. They were definitely cultivators who had reached the ruler's secret realm. Sending 2 cultivators who had reached the ruler's secret realm to protect Long Yu. Consort Yu was indeed very careful. From this, it could be seen that Consort Yu took Long Yu seriously. Moreover, this could indicate that some danger was about to befall Long Yu. This was what really caught Long Yu's attention. Why would Consort Yu send people to protect him? There must be danger. Where would the danger come from? It must be the Lushan clan. But how did the Lushan clan find out about his existence? Long Yu felt that he had been very careful. However, the big shots of the Lushan clan might have some means that Long Yu didn't know about, and they might be able to gradually deduce something. I am Long Yu. Many thanks to Senior Si Yuanbai and Senior Diao Feng for coming to help. Long Yu finally heaved a sigh of relief. In any case, the other party couldn't be here to deal with him. That was enough. On the contrary, before he mastered the 9 nether imprint, the other party would definitely protect his life. Otherwise, it would be hard to explain to Consort Yu when he returned. You're welcome. We're doing this for ourselves. Si Yuanbai said in a relaxed manner, if your plan succeeds, the 9 nether realm will belong to our Jiu clan. In that case, Diao Feng and I will have the chance to understand the 9 nether prison tablet. If we can comprehend anything from it, it will be of great help to us. If that's the case, I can bring you to understand the 9 nether prison tablet now. Long Yu said with a smile. No matter what, he had to calm the other party down first. Long Yu didn't want them to follow him everywhere. After all, Long Yu still had some secret. For example, the Book of Shadows. No one knew about the existence of this mystique, and it was a huge trump card for him. In the future, with the Book of Shadows, his survivability would probably be stronger than that of the 9 Abyss Dragon Empress. There's no hurry. The most important thing now is to help you master more 9 nethermark. Si Yuanbai continued with a smile. You don't have to worry too much about me and Diao Feng. We will protect you in the dark. We won't interfere with your actions normally. You just have to know that no matter what, we will always be by your side. Moreover, we have the absolute ability to protect you. You just have to do what you need to do. If I provoke all the powerhouses of the Lushan clan to come after me, can you still protect me? Long Yu said jokingly. In short, yes. Diao Feng, who was more taciturn, said in a hoarse voice, however, the consequence is that you might not be able to master all the 9 nethermarks safely. Then, you will have to leave this place. In that case, the plan to take back the 9 nether realm will be completely ruined. This was what really moved Long Yu. Even if Long Yu provoked all the powerhouses of the Lushan clan to come after him, these 2 people could still take him away safely? That was too unbelievable. Although Long Yu did not know how many powerhouses there were in the Lushan clan, even if it was Consort Yu who came here personally, she would not be able to say something like that, right? Since this person had said something like that, it meant that this person had some special escape method. The reason why Consort Yu had sent these 2 people here was probably because these 2 people were extraordinary in certain aspects. I understand. Long Yu nodded. He was just joking. In fact, he would not be so stupid as to provoke the powerhouses of the Lushan clan directly. That would not do him any good. You can continue playing your own game. Si Yuanbai smiled and waved his hand. He seemed to be signaling something to Diao Feng who was next to him. Then, Diao Feng raised his hand. An indescribable force suddenly enveloped both of them. Stillness of heart shadow. After a hoarse voice, the figures of the 2 mysterious men disappeared instantly. Not even a trace of them was left behind. This method caused Long Yu to instantly become nervous. Stillness of heart shadow, what kind of method was that? It seemed to be a type of innate divine power. However, the effect was that it could completely hide the aura and figures of the 2 mysterious men. Even though Long Yu had cultivated to the 6th level of balanced control, he could not detect any trace of the 2 people at all. Could it be that the 2 of them had left temporarily? Long Yu thought to himself and then shook his head. This possibility did not exist. If the other party had left, then when Long Yu was in danger, how could they arrive at the scene in the first instance? In other words, if these 2 people were really sent by Consort Yu to protect Long Yu, they must be nearby and observing everything in the dark. Stillness of heart shadow, this method was unheard of. If the other party launched a sneak attack on Long Yu in this state, Long Yu would definitely die a tragic death. However, Long Yu soon felt relieved. Based on the terrifying strength of the other party who had stepped into the sovereign's secret realm, if they really wanted to deal with him, they would have done so already. Why would they need to be so secretive? If the 2 of them were to make a move, Long Yu would definitely not be able to resist. Therefore, Long Yu chose to believe the words of the 2 mysterious men. Since that's the case, let's continue searching. We can head to the bone-burying dragon ground and see if the Jiyo Dragon Emperor left anything there. Long Yu shook his head and flew towards the other forbidden land of the 7 great forbidden lands, the bone-burying dragon ground. From his current location to the bone-burying dragon ground, if he didn't use the teleportation array, it would take him at least 10 years to reach the bone-burying dragon ground. Of course, Long Yu wouldn't fly directly to the bone-burying dragon ground. His perception of the energy whirlpools was 10,000 li, and he would use the 10,000 li distance as the starting point to construct a transmission array. Every time he arrived at a location, he would check if there were any energy whirlpools nearby. If there were, he would stop and absorb them. If there weren't, he would continue moving forward. With this, it would take him half a year to reach the bone-burying dragon ground. This wasn't a short period of time, but it was still acceptable for Long Yu to search for energy whirlpools along the way. As for Si Yuanbai and Diao Feng, the 2 experts sent by Consort Yu, Long Yu had no idea how they were able to keep up with him. However, he was sure that every time he used the transmission array, there would be a hidden spatial energy flickering not far away from him. It should be the two experts following him. The flickering spatial energy was extremely weak. Even though Long Yu had comprehended the 6th level of balanced control, he could barely sense it. Sometimes, he wouldn't even be able to sense it from a distance. Chapter 10:14. Half a year passed in the blink of an eye. Long Yu traveled through the endless void of the realm of the 9 serenities, constantly looking for the whirlpools that contained Jiuyou Dragon Emperor's aura. He had gained quite a lot in the past half a year, absorbing at least 10 whirlpools. The amount of Jiuyou Dragon Emperor's aura in these whirlpools varied, but it was at least as much as the first whirlpool that Long Yu absorbed. However, after absorbing all 10 whirlpools and accumulating for half a year, Long Yu had only grasped 42% of the mark of the 9 serenities. It was very difficult to fully grasp the mark of the 9 serenities. This gave Long Yu a bad feeling, because during this time, the 2 people that Consort Yu sent to protect him told him that the leaders of the Lushan clan had started to notice the abnormalities in the realm of the 9 serenities. It seemed that there was not much time left for Long Yu. At first, Long Yu thought that he still had a lot of time, and that the difficulty of grasping the mark of the 9 serenities would only increase the time. However, when he arrived near the bone-burying dragon field, he realized that the situation was quite bad. Because when he obtained the Ice God clan's sacred relic in the Shenwu world, the Team Regal that he encountered was guarding outside the bone-burying dragon field. The bone-burying dragon field was one of the 7 innate magics of the Jiuyou Dragon Emperor. It was now one of the 7 forbidden areas of the realm of the 9 serenities, and also one of the 7 pillars. As an innate magics, it was manifested by blasting the bone-burying dragon field, trapping the opponent in it, and then using the countless bone dragons in the field to devour the opponent. Now, if Long Yu wanted to go to the bone-burying dragon field, he would definitely encounter the countless bone dragons in the field. Fortunately, he had grasped 42% of the mark of the 9 serenities, so he should be able to control some of the bone dragons. It's the Team Regal sent by the Lushan clan, a total of 10 people. Are you still going to the bone-burying dragon field? While watching the bone-burying dragon field from afar, Si Yuanbai and Diao Feng brought news to Long Yu. At that moment, Team Regal was guarding outside the burial dragon field. They did not notice Long Yu's approach. However, if Long Yu wanted to enter the burial dragon field, he would definitely be discovered. Fortunately, Si Yuanbai and Diao Feng were present. They noticed the other party first and alerted Long Yu. Long Yu narrowed his eyes and pondered. Soon after, he said, since they are guarding the bone-burying dragon field, they probably don't know of my existence, and only sensed a slight abnormality in the netherworld realm. If I want to break into the bone-burying dragon field now, they will definitely find me. What I'm concerned about is whether they can immediately send the news of my existence to the rest of the Lushan clan. Si Yuanbai quickly answered, Diao Feng and I can work together to set up a formation to completely seal off this space, so that they can't send any news out. If anyone wants to leave, we will kill them. However, if they choose to follow you into the bone-burying dragon field, we won't be able to help you. We need to put all our effort into setting up the sealing formation. Then, there's no problem. Long Yu's eyes flashed with a bright light. I broke into the bone-burying dragon field. If they want to chase after me, let them. I can guarantee that I won't die. As for them, if they dare to chase after me, only death awaits them. If they want to send a message, I'll have to rely on the 2 of you to stop them. Don't worry about that. Not only can we stop them from sending the news out, but we can also create an illusion. Even if they die, the Lushan clan won't receive any news in a short period of time. Si Yuanbai said confidently. As a powerful being in the ruler's secret realm, Si Yuanbai indeed had such a method. Otherwise, Consort, you would not have sent him and Diao Feng to protect and assist Long Yu. That's good. Let's go. Long Yu nodded and flew directly to the bone-burying dragon field. Since everything was guaranteed, there was no need for him to retreat. Otherwise, he would have to go to other places first. But judging from the situation in the bone-burying dragon field, the other 7 forbidden lands would probably be in the same situation. Long Yu would definitely search through the 7 forbidden lands. After all, the things left behind by the Jiyo Dragon Emperor were extremely valuable. Even in the Beyond Heavens world, it was extremely difficult to find them. These things were the biggest reason why Long Yu's strength could increase rapidly. The bone-burying dragon field was a scene of dead silence and emptiness. It was like a galaxy, quietly floating in the endless void of the realm of the netherworld. A sealing formation was quietly set up around the bone-burying dragon field. From now on, no information could be transmitted out of this space. This was Si Yuanbai's confidence. At least, it was impossible for the 10 Emperor-level cultivators in the Team Regal to break this sealing formation. Long Yu did not swagger his way in. Instead, he fully activated the 6th level of balanced control to hide his aura as much as possible. Then, he quietly approached the bone-burying dragon field. There was only one 7-star Emperor in the Team Regal. But now, with the mark of the netherworld and balanced control that Long Yu had mastered, only cultivators above the 7-star Emperor level could sense his presence. What Long Yu was worried about was being discovered by the 7-star Emperor. The distance between them was getting closer and closer. Long Yu had already clearly seen the faces of the 10 people in the Team Regal. Among them, the 7-star Emperor was a scarred man wearing a straw hat. He had a purple scabbard hanging on his waist. He was resting outside the bone-burying dragon field with his eyes closed. When Long Yu was quite close to the bone-burying dragon field, the scarred man wearing a straw hat suddenly opened his eyes and looked in the direction where Long Yu was. There's something. Do it. The scarred man wearing the straw hat was very vigilant. He only felt a slight fluctuation of aura, but he immediately locked onto Long Yu's position. After all, in this void, it was almost completely silent. The slightest movement could wake people up. Moreover, the 7-star Emperor's presence was very sensitive. Even when Long Yu used balanced control, he could not avoid his detection. On the other hand, the other Team Regal members were puzzled by the 7-star Emperor's order. There's something? They did not know what their leader was talking about. But since their leader had said it, they would just attack in the direction of their leader's attack. After all, it would not be wrong. In an instant, 10 different attacks were launched towards Long Yu's position. The overwhelming power of the divine text engulfed the entire area. Book of Shadows. Long Yu's heart skipped a beat. He used the Book of Shadows as fast as he could. Then, he simulated the power of the divine text contained in the opponent's attack and quickly penetrated through the entire attack range. This process seemed simple, but in reality, Long Yu had experienced 10 different changes. Every attack from the opponent was different, and every attack was fatal to him. Therefore, he had activated the Book of Shadows 10 times, consumed a lot of energy, and detonated more than 10 rainbow absorption totems in his body. Only then did he manage to consume enough energy for this short moment. Moreover, this was because he had mastered the Mark of Hades to 42% and had the power of the entire world of Hades. Otherwise, he would have died without a doubt if he had to face the combined attack of 10 people. However, since he had dodged the attack, it would be very difficult for them to catch up to him again. This was because he had already escaped from the range of their joint attack with a single leap, and instantly stepped into the range of the dragon burial ground. The boundary of the burial dragon grounds was a desolate deathly aura that lingered in the surroundings, enveloping a vast expanse of the surrounding void. As for Long Yu, he directly stepped into the deathly aura, and his figure disappeared from everyone's sight. You two, split up and go back to report. The rest of you, follow me, Song In 2. If we manage to catch this guy, we will have made a great contribution," the leader of the 7-star emperors shouted. He immediately drew the purple sword from his waist. The scar on his face looked extremely hideous. He led the other 7 people into the dragon burying ground. The 2 weakest members of the 3-star emperors turned around and wanted to leave to report. However, they had only taken a few steps when 2 invisible blades of Hades pierced through their hearts, killing them instantly. This was the attack of Si Yuanbai and Diao Feng, who had been hiding in the dark. As they had said, it was impossible for anyone from the Team Regal to report back to the dragon burying ground. Moreover, when these 2 people died, 2 clay dolls instantly appeared out of thin air. As soon as they appeared, they transformed into the appearance of the 2 people who had died. Not only did they have the same appearance and physique, but even their cultivation realms and aura of the divine characters were exactly the same. Done in one go, Si Yuanbai sighed. The other 8 mud dolls also appeared quietly and turned into the appearance of the other 8 members of the Team Regal. The 10 mud dolls stood guard at the edge of the dragon burying ground, exactly the same as before the whole thing happened. In this way, the members of the Lushan clan could hardly notice what had happened here. Now, it's up to Long Yu. I'm curious what he can get from this dragon burying ground. Diao Feng's hoarse voice was heard. As long as he can understand the Hades mark quickly, it's fine. As for what he can get, it's none of my business. After Si Yuanbai finished speaking, the 2 of them fell into complete silence. Only the restrictive formation was still running. The 10 mud dolls that had turned into Team Regal were all resting outside the dragon burying ground with their eyes closed, as if they were real. As for the real Team Regal, 2 of them had died. The other 8 had followed their leader, Song into the dragon burying ground to chase after Long Yu. The dragon burying ground was similar to the realm core of divine martial arts. It was divided into 3 layers: the outer layer, the inner layer, and the inner layer. The density of the dead qi in each layer was different. In the outer layer, although the dead qi was very dense, it was not enough to threaten the emperor. Go after him. Chapter 10-15. As soon as Long Yu entered the bone-burying dragon field, he was instantly surrounded by an endless amount of dead qi, which kept surging towards him. Luckily, he had mastered 42% of the 9 serenities mark, so the dead qi didn't cause him any harm. However, it made him feel like he couldn't move freely, which made him very uncomfortable. If someone else came in, the situation would be even more serious. Those who hadn't reached the level of the Emperor would basically be dead. Even if the Emperor came here, he would have to divide a large part of his power to resist the dead qi that kept attacking his body. As a result, the real strength he could exert was much weaker. They really followed me in. Long Yu could feel that there were many Emperor powerhouses behind him. The one leading them was the 7-star Emperor Song into. The scarred man with the straw hat had a purple scabbard hanging on his waist. It was actually an Archean-grade transcendent combat weapon. At this moment, when he swung his sword, the purple sword light instantly cut open a large area of death qi, creating a path for him to pass through. This passageway allowed the 8 sovereign monarchs to see Long Yu, who was originally hidden within the boundless deathly aura. In the bone-burying dragon field, Long Yu didn't need to use balanced control to hide himself. Anyway, the other party had the 7-star Emperor, so they would definitely be able to find him. In that case, he might as well save his energy and focus on other things. The Lushan clan has set their eyes on the Abyss Black Palace and the realm of divine martial arts, but not on the bone-burying dragon field. This is because there are no benefits for them in the bone-burying dragon field. In the bone-burying dragon field, apart from the endless dead qi, there are only endless skeletal dragons. Long Yu didn't stop. As he moved forward quickly, he sensed with the 9 serenities mark. Soon, he came into contact with the 2 skeletal dragons that were sleeping in the surrounding dead qi. These two skeletal dragons had the strength of a 4-star emperor. Moreover, in the dragon burial ground's deathly aura, they were able to display even greater strength. Although the 8 Team Regal members who had barged into the bone-burying dragon field had high martial Dao realms and were even higher than the 2 ancestral dragons, they had to use part of their strength to resist the corrosion of the death aura in the bone-burying dragon field. Therefore, their strength was limited. Move. Long Yu used all his strength to activate the 9 nether mark. Immediately, 2 rays of light shot out from the 9 nether mark and shone towards the 2 bone dragons. The 2 rays of light were not obvious. In fact, it was almost impossible to notice them amidst the boundless deathly aura. However, it was these 2 rays of light that alarmed the 2 bone dragons that were hibernating in the deathly aura. How many days have they been dormant? It was simply endless. At that moment, someone finally came to wake them up. The 2 bone dragons immediately let out an ancient roar. The 2 roars echoed throughout the entire bone-burying dragon field, indicating that they had awakened. As expected, they can control these bone dragons. If that's the case, I don't have to be afraid of this Team Regal. Long Yu's eyes shone brightly. With a thought, he commanded the 2 bone dragons to fly towards him. Of course, he wanted them to stop the 8 Team Regal members led by Song In-2. After a while, the 2 humongous creatures pushed aside the boundless deathly aura and surged towards him with an ancient aura. Their pale white bones and ancient aura indicated that they were 2 humongous bone dragons that had existed for God knows how long. In front of these 2 bone dragons, Long Yu's body was equivalent to one of their toes. One could imagine how huge these 2 bone dragons were. The 2 bone dragons continuously breathed dense deathly aura. Following Long Yu's command, they immediately turned behind him and intercepted Song In-2 and the other 7 Team Regal members. 2 beams of deathly aura instantly shot out from the bone dragons' mouths. With the boundless deathly aura, they instantly bombarded Song In-2. Purple Brahma swordsmanship break. The 7-star Emperor, Song In-2's eyes shone with a purple light. He instantly slashed out with his supreme-tier Archean long sword combat weapon. A purple sword ray cut through the boundless purple aura and instantly met the deathly aura from the 2 bone dragons. The purple sword aura instantly cut through the 2 deathly aura light pillars. However, the 2 deathly aura light pillars exploded because of this, creating a terrifying deathly aura vortex that swallowed everything in its surroundings. A large purple light shone from within the deathly aura. This Team Regal was actually made up of members of the Symbol clan. They had cultivated a secret martial art technique, the undying purple blood. Caught off guard, the 8 of them were all swallowed by the deathly aura vortex produced by the explosion of the deathly aura light beams. Their bodies were almost completely annihilated. Fortunately, they had cultivated the undying purple blood martial art technique, so they were all restored to their original state in an instant. Although no one was injured, they were still frightened by what had happened. They knew that in this dragon burial ground, fighting the bone dragons head-on was an act of courting death. This time, the undying purple blood in their bodies had resurrected them, but their undying purple blood was not limitless. Moreover, the 2 weakest among them, the 4-star Emperor-level cultivators, had almost exhausted the power of the undying purple blood in their bodies. If they were attacked again, they would definitely die. It's just 2 dead creatures. What's there to be afraid of? A ferocious expression appeared on Song Renta's face. He held the supreme grade archaic rank violet sword in his hand, and he swung out an expanse of violet sword chi. It rumbled as it pierced through the surrounding death energy, and then it swept towards the bone dragons. The 2 bone dragons sensed the incoming attack, but their movements were too clumsy. All they could do was absorb some of the deathly aura in the surroundings and barely form a deathly aura barrier around them. This deathly aura barrier had almost no resistance against Song In-2's purple sword ray. In an instant it was shattered into pieces. One had to know that Song Intu was an expert on the same level as the 7-star Emperor. Just one more step and he would be able to step into the ruler's secret realm. Compared to the 4-star Emperor's bone dragons, the difference was too great. Although Song Intu needed to expend some energy to resist the deathly aura in the surroundings, his remaining energy was still much stronger than the 2 bone dragons. In an instant, the deathly aura dispersed. The 2 bone dragons were sliced into pieces by the purple sword ray. Their huge bodies dissipated into deathly aura and merged with the surrounding deathly aura as if they had never existed. The 2 bone dragons were directly killed by Song Intu. However, the overall situation was not optimistic for them. That kid is here. Follow me. Once we find the bone dragons, we can directly attack their bodies. Although these bone dragons have strong attack power, their defense is completely rubbish. As Song Intu spoke, he took the lead and chased after Long Yu. Although there were layers of deathly aura obstructing him, he was still able to accurately determine Long Yu's position. This was because as long as Long Yu appeared in front of him once, he would be able to use a tracking ability to lock onto him. This way, no matter where Long Yu ran to, he would not be able to escape from the palm of his hand. This was the strength of Song Intu. One of his 7 great innate abilities was already at the level of Emperor Path Mystique. It was impossible for Long Yu to break it. Therefore, from now on, unless Song Intu died, Long Yu would always be tracked by him. Long Yu would always be within his perception range. Even if Long Yu ran to the ends of the earth, it would be useless. Can you accurately lock onto my position? In that case, I will make sure that you will not be able to return. Long Yu was a little heartbroken by the death of the 2 bone dragons. However, he soon realized that the 2 bone dragons had turned into deathly aura after they died and integrated into the surrounding deathly aura. This made his heart skip a beat. Turned out that these bone dragons were not real bone dragons. Instead, they were formed by the boundless deathly aura in the dragon burial ground. Moreover, after the short battle just now, Long Yu could tell that the attack power of these bone dragons was very terrifying. Even the 7-star Emperor Song Intu would be severely injured if he was hit by the deathly aura light beam. However, the bone dragon's defense was completely rubbish. In front of Song Intu, they basically could not even block one move. However, since these bone dragons were formed by the surrounding deathly aura, it did not matter how many died. No matter how strong Song Intu was, how many could he kill alone? As for the rest of Team Regal, it was not that easy to kill these bone dragons. They would need at least 2 moves. I will control the bone dragons to attack you from afar. Let's see what you can do about it. Long Yu continued to fly deeper into the dragon burial ground. At the same time, he activated the Netherworld Mark to summon the 3 bone dragons nearby. These 3 bone dragons were also at the level of a 4-star Emperor. However, this time, Long Yu did not gather the 3 bone dragons together. Instead, he let them scatter in 3 different directions. After he was ready, he spat deathly aura light beams at Song Intu and the rest from 3 different directions. The deathly aura light beams rolled over and besieged them from 3 directions. Previously, 2 bone dragons gathered around Long Yu, which made them too obvious a target. Song Intu killed them with one move. However, now, the 3 bone dragons scattered in 3 different directions and launched their attacks quietly. This caught Song Intu and the rest off guard. Giant Rock Shield. One of the Team Regal members took out a giant rock soldier. It was definitely an Archean existence. The giant rock soldier instantly turned into a giant rock shield that covered all 8 of them. That person had already merged with the giant rock soldier to the level of Tianqi. Hence, it was very easy for him to use the defensive technique of the giant rock soldier. In an instant, he completely blocked the 3 deathly aura light beams. Although the giant rock shield formed by the divine runes was completely shattered, the 3 deathly aura light beams did not hurt the 8 of them at all. Void-breaking kill. Chapter 10:16. In the outside world, Song In-tu could instantly kill Long Yu with just this void-piercing kill. After all, the gap between their martial arts realms was too big. However, in the burial dragon field, all the space divine text power was sealed. Therefore, Song In-tu's void-piercing kill was unable to display its true power. Although Song In-tu took a big step towards Long Yu, there was still some distance between him and Long Yu. A purple sword light swept out, broke through the endless deathly aura, and instantly arrived at Long Yu. It was about to pierce through his head. However, at this moment, a beam of deathly aura bombarded from another direction and instantly blasted on the purple sword light. Song In-tu's void-piercing kill had originally intended to kill Long Yu. However, he did not expect Long Yu to control the bone dragon and blast a beam of deathly aura from the side. This beam of deathly aura directly engulfed the sword light. The terrifying power of the void-piercing kill caused the beam of deathly aura to explode and form another deathly aura vortex. Moreover, this deathly aura vortex was not far away from Long Yu. However, Long Yu did not care. He casually condensed 4 siphon totems, which appeared around his body. The 5-colored siphon totems rotated rapidly and absorbed the energy of the deathly aura vortex that accompanied the purple sword light. If it were any other energy, the siphon totems would not be able to completely absorb it. However, most of this energy is deathly aura. This way, there will be no problem absorbing it. Long Yu thought with satisfaction. The 4 siphon totems were quickly absorbed and stored in the inner world of his dantian. The next time he ran out of energy, he could directly explode the siphon totems to replenish his energy. His pure world body had reached the 4th level, which allowed him to unseal the siphon soul and other magical powers. He could use all kinds of techniques, which made it easier for him to fight. Long Yu absorbed more than half of the death aura vortex's power along with the purple sword light. The remaining energy could no longer pose a threat to Long Yu and quickly dissipated into the surrounding death aura. Song In-tu's first move had failed to kill Long Yu. Just as he was about to strike again, another deathly aura beam suddenly came from the side, directly aimed at Song In-tu's head. Song In-tu had no choice but to restrain his thoughts. He brandished the longsword in his hand, and a purple sword light suddenly spread out, condensing into a purple sword screen barrier. Bang! The death chi light pillar rolled over and exploded on the purple sword barrier. However, it didn't hurt Song In-tu at all. After all, he already had experience and knew how to resist the explosive power of the death chi light pillar. Although Song In-tu was not injured at all, his assassination attempt on Long Yu had failed, and the distance between him and Long Yu had increased once again. Although everyone in Team Regal's speed was much faster than Long Yu's, they were unable to catch up with Long Yu due to the continuous death aura light pillars spewed by the skeletal dragon to obstruct them. This kid can control the skeletal dragon and remain unharmed in the death aura. He must have obtained the world imprint of the Jiryo Dragon Emperor. Song In-tu had already guessed this. His eyes flashed with murderous intent. He knew that Long Yu must die. If he could capture or kill Long Yu before the elders sent people over, he would get a great part of the credit. He could even greatly improve the Symbol clan's status in the Lushan clan. One could imagine how much he wanted to capture Long Yu. Capturing Long Yu alive was obviously more valuable than killing Long Yu. Because of this, Song In-tu did not kill Long Yu. He only wanted to force Long Yu to stop. Unfortunately, he soon realized that if he did not kill Long Yu, there was no way he could catch up with Long Yu, let alone capture him alive. ****, stop right now. Do you want to die? Don't think that you can do whatever you want just because you have the world imprint. Before you completely master the world imprint, I have 10,000 ways to kill you. Song Into could not capture Long Yu alive, nor could he do anything to him. He immediately threatened him fiercely. Of course, threats alone were not enough, so he continued, "On the contrary, if you're willing to become a member of the Symbol Clan, you'll definitely be trained by the clan in the future. You'll definitely become a powerhouse in the future. In the Symbol Clan, you'll at least become an elder." Song Into was very loyal to the Symbol Clan. At this time, he did not mention the Lushan clan, but the Symbol Clan. Obviously, he paid more attention to his identity as a member of the Symbol Clan. Long Yu did not care about his threat and solicitation. From Song Rentu's words, it seemed like Song Rentu didn't know that he was Concubine Yu's subordinate. If he knew, there was no way he would let him go. It was only now that he could escape. As long as he escaped to the next level of the bone-burying dragon field before his opponent made up his mind to kill him, Long Yu would be truly safe. At that time, it would be impossible for Song Into to kill him. As for now, Long Yu knew that if Song Into was really determined to kill him, he might still be able to do it. If that was the case, it would be better to control the skeletal dragon to obstruct his opponent's pursuit while arguing with him. At the same time, he could also inquire about the situation of the Symbol Clan. "It's not impossible for me to surrender. Tell me first, what kind of strength does the Symbol Clan have? If you can't tempt me, I won't surrender to you." Long Yu roared and asked. "Haha, as expected of a kid who has never seen the world. You don't even know the strength of the Symbol Clan." Song Into laughed heartily. In the Lushan clan, the Symbol Clan is the second largest clan, second only to the Hidden Sword Division. However, the Hidden Sword Division usually does not accept outsiders, so the Symbol Clan is definitely your best choice. In the Symbol Clan, there are a total of 33 great sovereigns. Each one of them is an important figure in the human race. If you become a disciple of any one of them, you will reach the heavens in a single step. Great Sovereign. From his words, Long Yu obtained more information about the Beyond Heaven world. There were definitely more than 33 sovereigns in the Symbol Clan. Therefore, the great sovereigns that Song Into mentioned were definitely one of the levels in the Sovereign Secret Realm. Just like in the Emperor's Path Secret Realm, there were King Realm, Emperor Realm, and Emperor Realm. The great sovereigns were definitely stronger than ordinary sovereigns in the Sovereign Secret Realm. As for the specific levels in the Sovereign Secret Realm, Long Yu wanted to ask more, but he noticed that the death aura in front of him was getting thicker and thicker. This made him happy. He had arrived at the second layer of the bone-burying dragon field. In the second layer, the death aura was even thicker, and the bone dragons formed by the death aura were definitely stronger. Without any hesitation, Long Yu charged into the next layer of the bone-burying dragon field. Song Into was still hoping that Long Yu would surrender, but he realized that Long Yu had already disappeared. Song Into was so angry that he snorted, "Brat, since you want to die, don't blame me." As soon as he finished speaking, he led his 7 Team Regal members into the inner layer of the bone-burying dragon field. Immediately, the density of the death chi in the surroundings increased by several times, causing them to have to expend even more energy to resist the corrosion of the death chi. At the same time, Song Rentu still firmly locked onto Long Yu's direction, and chased after him. At this moment, Long Yu attempted to transform his body into deathly energy. However, he quickly discovered that Song Rentu was still chasing after him. Furthermore, transforming into deathly energy consumed a lot of his energy. In the end, he gave up. It seemed like the only way to shake off Song Intu's pursuit was to kill him. It was impossible for Long Yu to kill a 7-star emperor with his current strength. Fortunately, he could control the countless bone dragons in the bone-burying dragon field. Now that he had reached the inner layer of the bone-burying dragon field, the bone dragons formed by the death aura were equivalent to a 5-star emperor or a 6-star emperor. Even if they couldn't defeat the 7-star emperor's Song Into, they could still effectively stop him from chasing after them. Moreover, it was possible that he could kill all the Team Regal members except for Song In-2 through the attack of these bone dragons. Let's play a game. The corners of Long Yu's mouth curled up slightly. Under such circumstances, not only was he not afraid, but he was also excited. This was the combative factor that existed in his bones. 2 5-star Emperor-level bone dragons appeared quietly behind Song In-2 and the others. As Song In-2 and the others were all guarding in front, no one noticed the 2 bone dragons that appeared in the thick death aura behind them. Kill! With a thought from Long Yu, he activated the 9 nether imprint and instantly ordered the 2 bone dragons to attack. 2 more majestic death aura light pillars broke through the layers of death aura and blasted towards the 2 Team Regal members at the back. A terrifying pressure instantly descended upon them, and it caused Song Rin-2 and the others to react successively. However, they didn't even have the time to utilize any defensive abilities before the 2 5th-star Imperial Monarchs at the back of the pursuing group were struck by the Pillar of Death Energy, and then ghastly death energy exploded apart and formed 2 vortexes of death energy. The 2 5-star Emperor-level cultivators were directly swallowed by the death aura vortexes. The light of the immortal purple blood kept flickering, but eventually disappeared without a trace. Even their bodies became part of the surrounding death aura. When they were chasing earlier, they had already consumed a lot of the power of the immortal purple blood. Now, the remaining power of the immortal purple blood was not enough to resurrect them from the death aura vortexes. 2 down. Not only that, the terrifying power of the 2 death aura vortexes also affected the bodies of the 2 6-star emperors not far away. This caused the bodies of the 2 6-star emperors to flicker with purple light. Obviously, they were injured and were in the process of recovering. Of course, the 6-star Emperor-level powerhouses could not be killed by the bombardment of the 5-star Emperor bone dragons. However, the real show had just begun. Chase. At this moment, of course, Song In-2 could not retreat. He knew that even if he retreated now, he would not be able to escape. He would definitely be killed by Long Yu. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.